What is up, hooligans? Happy freedom. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Hooligans, where we try to make the news suck a little less. I appreciate all of you hooligans being here. We're just waiting for KJP to come out on stage. Peter Ducey's in the house. We have lots of news to cover today. After the press briefing, 6 videos. A lot of them about old man Walter and all the terrible things he's doing. Let's see how it goes. I don't think I have enough time to read the schedule before she comes staggering out on stage. Just checking on the chats really quick. Let's see, where are we at? Moving stuff around. What's up, everyone on Rumble? Happy freedom. Appreciate you guys all being here. What's up, Ting Ting? What's up, Snooks? What's up, Dawn? What's up, It's Shemp? What's up, Zero? What's up, Matthew? Happy freedom. And we're live on D Live. Happy freedom, hooligans, over on D Live. What's up, everyone over on Kick? What's up, Cat's Eye? What's up, DeRosa? Happy freedom, hooligans. What's up, everyone over on Twitch? What's up, everyone over on GoofTube? Appreciate all of you hooligans being here. Thank you so much, Sassy Patriot. Yeah, just a quick update before Crackhead comes out. I have not heard about my car yet. As I told you yesterday, I wrecked my car, but I called the shop that has my car before the live yesterday, and they told me they didn't think they'd be able to fix it, but they hadn't got a chance to look at it yet. Then they never called me back, which I assume they were still analyzing things. I'm cool with the people at the shop, so it's not like they're missing my call or anything. They'll call when they know what's going on. Hopefully I hear from them today. I've been trying to look around at cars in the state just to see what my options are. If I have to go that route, hopefully we can fix the poor old Subaru. Otherwise, I might have to get something else. I really appreciate all of you hooligans sending support and stuff yesterday. It really means so much to me. As I said yesterday, I don't really have any help. I don't have a way to fix this issue. I know some people are like, well, you have to have insurance. Well, I do have insurance, but unfortunately it's only liability. I don't have comp, I don't have collision, so my insurance is not helping me with my car at all. But thanks to all of you hooligans, I have hope. I have a chance at being able to afford to fix this if I have the eligibility to fix my car, or maybe put some money down on a new ride. Not brand new, but you know what I mean, something different. But I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. Oh, here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Over the past few days, we have seen the traumatizing impact of the gun violence epidemic in our country. At Morgan State University in Baltimore, where a joyful homecoming week was interrupted by violence. In Holyoke, where several people were shot at, including a pregnant woman who tragically lost the child she was carrying hours later in the hospital. And in Philadelphia, where 3 police officers were shot while doing their jobs last night. Americans should be able to go to their schools, places of worship, jobs, and out in their community without the fear of gun violence. Last week, the Department of Justice announced that they are awarding more than $4.4 billion in grants to support state, local, and tribal community safety efforts that reach every corner of the country. This historic investment in community safety is a major stride toward preventing violence in our communities. Among some examples of where this critical funding will be going, number one, first, community violence prevention efforts, including in new investments in states, including North Carolina, Colorado, and Ohio, efforts to support victims of gun violence in all 50 states, investments in crime reduction strategies and support for law enforcement, crucial resources to keep our kids safe in and out of school, and much more. This is just the latest action from the Biden-Harris administration to keep communities safe. And it builds on the historic action President Biden has taken to reduce gun violence and gun crime, including signing into law Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, announcing dozens of executive actions, and last month launching the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Now tomorrow, our administration will kick off the third Investing in America tour with the president, the vice president, the first lady, cabinet members, and senior administration officials making dozens of trips across the country to highlight how Bidenomics is growing the economy from the bottom up and middle out in communities across the country. To mark National Manufacturing Day tomorrow, the First Lady will travel to Fishkill, New York to attend the launch of a new mechatronics training lab funded by the American Rescue Plan. And the White House will launch our advanced manufacturing sprint to build a diverse, skilled pipeline of workers, including for union jobs in advanced manufacturing. This tour comes as extreme Republicans in Congress continue to try to block the president's Investing in America agenda and repeal critical pieces of legislation that are bringing investments and opportunity to their own districts. We'll be sharing out some more additional information this afternoon, so please stay tuned. Sungmin?
First topic, does the president support the ongoing strike by Kaiser healthcare workers?
As we've always said, the president is always in support of union members, striking, number one, but also doing collective bargaining. We know that works. We've seen that work, whether it is the UPS strike or the West Coast ports, and we know when the two sides or all sides come together and in a good faith approach, they can get to a place where union workers are getting their fair pay and fair benefits. So certainly the president supports that.
But is the strike for the president worth it when there's already reports of babies not being able to get checkup appointments or non-emergency care being delayed?
Look, the president believes that all workers, including healthcare workers and those who make their work possible, deserve a fair pay and benefits. That's what he believes. And look, it's not new or unusual for care workers from any sector to exercise their rights under the collective bargaining. Again, when the two sides come together in good faith, we believe that it works out. There is a resolution. There is a win-win scenario here. And even the Treasury Department, and I spoke to this earlier this week, put out a report when we see that type of collective bargaining, that it not only helps union workers, but it also helps the economy and it helps non-union workers. Look, we hope that they get to a place where they can all agree, so we can move forward, so that mothers can indeed make sure to take care of their kids. Right, that is indeed important. But we've always been clear that he believes workers have the right to ask for fair pay and fair benefits.
A couple on Ukraine. Does the White House have a reaction to the attack in eastern Ukraine today, where about 50 people were killed? Ukrainian officials say it was a Russian rocket that caused the accident, or caused the incident, and it's the deadliest attack in months.
So look, sadly we're continuing to see Russia launch strikes like the one today in eastern Ukraine, which hit a grocery store. Reportedly, as far as we know at this moment, killed at least 49 people. So we have to stop and think about this. Let's stop and think about what we're seeing. 49 innocent people who were killed by a Russian airstrike while they were shopping for food at a supermarket. That's what they were doing. And so can you imagine just walking to the grocery store with your kids, trying to figure out what is it that you're going to make for dinner, and you see an explosion happen where bodies are everywhere. And it's horrifying. It is incredibly horrifying for the people of Ukraine, for the folks who are like yourselves, your colleagues who are reporting this on the ground. And it is for these families and these kids. So this is what is happening in Ukraine every day. This is why we're doing everything that we can to help Ukraine, to help the brave people of Ukraine to fight for their freedom, fight for their democracy. And so this is, again, what the president keeps talking about over and over again. We have to continue to support the people of Ukraine, because this is the horrifying nature that they live in every day.
And one more on Ukraine, if I may, because I know we've talked a lot about the deal, in quotes, with the White House and the Speaker. When the Speaker was asked about this on Tuesday night at his post-speakership press conference, he said there was a concern in there. Does it have transferability on money? I believed and my staff believe it did. What I did say to the White House, if it does not, if you think in some way it doesn't do it the way it should, I will fix that. I did say I'd do it. Is that the agreement that the White House had with the speaker, fixing some money transferability issues as it relates to Ukraine aid?
So here's what I can say, and just to what the president alluded to, so we have another package of aid of Ukraine for Ukraine soon as part of our normal cadence, which includes weapons and equipment for the fight that they're in. And so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to make sure that we meet the battlefield needs that Ukraine has, using existing authorities, using those resources provided by Congress, as we have said from the podium this week, and certainly that's what the president was alluding to. I'm not going to go beyond what the president said. We ultimately, though, we believe that Congress needs to act, right? Even as we talk about these authorities, these are the resource authorities, funding authorities that we have, these PDAs, and you've heard from my colleague at NSC that we can go a bit longer, but it's not the long-term solution. So the big piece of this right now is that we need Congress to keep their promise, the promise that they made to Ukrainians about continuing that bipartisan support. We see it in both chambers that there is a majority of support there, and so that's what, when we talk about the long term, how we move forward, that's what we want to continue to see.
The president just told me that a border wall does not work. If that's the case, why does his own Department of Homeland Security Secretary say in a public notice, quote, "There is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers"?
Here's what I can say. I can speak to what the president was very clear in saying, and also what you all have been reporting about this construction. So the facts are this is not new. These funds were appropriated in fiscal year 2019 under Republican leadership, and DHS is required by law to use the funds for appropriated purpose. That's what we're seeing. This was announced back in June by the DHS. And so, look, we believe that there are better effective ways of moving forward to secure our border and security, our border security, and we have continuously asked for Congress to act, to provide our CBP, the law enforcement at the border, to give them the resources they need to do their jobs. And so we're going to continue to call on Congress. We believe, and the president has been very clear, even when you asked him, does a border wall work? He said no. And he's been very consistent about that. We believe that we need border technology that is modernized and land ports of entry, and that's what we want to see. And that's what I can speak to. And this is something that we were required by law, and we are complying. This is an administration that does believe in the rule of law.
But why now? For instance, these funds have been available since Biden took office. Why at this time?
And the president actually spoke to this, and this is one of the things that he was saying, that he's been asking Congress to reappropriate the funds. He has been.
We're actually going to cover the story about Old Man Walter building his own wall
to get this done, and that's what you're seeing happening right now.
Would there be a way to continue to slow walk this and to delay it?
We have to comply by law, and that's what we're doing at this time. We ask Congress to reappropriate the funds. That's what we would prefer to see, not waste the funding in the way that they're doing it right now, that we are required to do. But they refused, and so now we're moving forward. Go ahead.
Thanks, Green. What specific law would the administration be breaking if funds appropriated for the border wall are not used, especially because the funds go unused all the time? And why not let it go unused this time?
Well, look, I'm not going to speak to the law. I would have to refer you to Department of Justice. I'm not a lawyer, but what I can tell you is that this is a law that we are complying with. We have asked Congress multiple times to reappropriate this. This is not the way that we believe is going to be effective here. We believe in modernizing the system, not actually building a wall. The president said himself he does not think this is effective, and so we're complying by law. And we believe that in the rule of law here, and we're moving forward and getting that, in following the law.
Is this the administration in some ways recognizing that using these funds at this moment will be useful in Texas?
We are complying by the law that says that we need to do this, and that's what DHS is asking for.
And how is this consistent with what President Biden pledged to do when he was elected, which is that he will not use any funds to use the border law? What will you tell?
Let's make this really clear. The facts are that this is not new, right? This is something that came from the last administration under the Republican leadership in fiscal year 2019, and we are required to do this. We are required, DHS is required to comply by the law. That's what we're doing here. And look, the president, he said this himself. He basically asked Congress to reappropriate the funds. They wouldn't do it. And so now we have to comply by the law. Now, this was something that was announced 6 months ago. DHS actually announced this 6 months ago. And so this is not new. This is actually not new.
Does help with the situation in Texas?
We believe that a border wall is not effective. You heard that from the president when your colleague Selena asked him directly. He said, we don't believe it's effective. We have asked Congress to actually help us, use these funds in smarter, more effective ways. That's what we've asked for. They refuse, but we're going to continue to ask for Congress, especially Republicans who are holding this back, to act.
If the border wall is ineffective, why is the Homeland Security Secretary saying that it's necessary to prevent unlawful entries into the United States?
I have not seen that full statement. I know.
in the notice that went out this
I hear
morning.
you. I'm just saying I've not seen his full statement on that. What I can speak to is for the president. The president's been very clear that he doesn't believe it's effective. He answered that question of your colleague. That's what I can speak to. That's what we're going to talk about. And we've actually said there are smarter ways and more effective ways in dealing with this. And there are. And so the president said himself, he asked Congress to reappropriate this funds for something that is more effective, for ways to do this in a smarter way as it relates to border security measures. They refused. This was announced back in June, and now we're moving forward.
And he said in 2020 as a candidate, so after this law was passed in 2019, that there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. How can you say that he's not breaking that promise?
Well, what I can say is that there's a law that the DHS is complying with. We believe in the rule of law, and that's what we're moving forward with. This was decided, as you just said, in 2019. I believe there was a different president in 2019, right? That was a Republican president who actually pushed this forward. The Republican leadership pushed this forward. And so now we're complying by the law. Let's not forget, this was 6 months ago. This was out there 6 months ago. I know you guys are asking me about this now, but this was actually not new, and this was done 6 months ago. Okay.
Yeah, but to piggyback on that, Corinne, I mean, there were a series of waivers put forth last night that expedite this process. And can you help us understand, essentially, is there a deadline in the law, or why is it that this has to be used up right now? Because you all have been not thus far using these funds. So to piggyback on Nandita's question, why not continue to slow walk this if philosophically you
Because
do
we've
not
asked,
believe it?
because the answer there is we've asked Congress over and over again. The president said this, to reappropriate the funds. They said no. We have to comply by the law. That's what DHS is doing. As you asked me about the environmental laws that we had to deal with, we have to comply by the law, and which requires, because we have to comply by the law, which requires the agencies to use these funds for their appropriated purpose. Now, CBP will conduct environmental and cultural resource surveys of this project, and so certainly I would.
They say they have to comply with the law like they're high roading all of us.
And also the law itself. What I can tell you is that we have to comply by the law, and that's what we're doing, and that's what DHS is doing. Again, this was announced back in June, and this is how we're moving forward. And you heard directly from the president. His stance on the border wall has not changed. He does not believe it is effective. He's been very clear about that. Again, your colleague asked him directly, and his answer was no. Go ahead, JJ.
Has the government already contracted for this project?
I don't have any news about contracts for this project or how it's moving forward. I would have to refer you to DHS on that.
Ukraine speech, are you expecting it to be next week, early next week?
So I don't have anything new to share on the Ukraine speech specifically. But look, the president was very clear. He wants to give a major speech on this. And so when we have more information, certainly we will share it. Look, and you've heard me say this multiple times. You heard the president say this. There's strong bipartisan support from both chambers for protecting our national security by backing Ukraine as they continue to fight for their democracy, for their sovereignty, and resist the brutal invasion of Russian aggression, obviously, which has committed war crimes and atrocities and killed countless civilians and kidnapped thousands of children. We saw what's happening today in Ukraine at the grocery store, where we know at least 49 people have died, and that's horrific. That is how they're living their life. And also, I want to bring in the experts into this too. Across the spectrum have stressed if we abandon the people of Ukraine and Russia is successful, it would send a terrible message and embolden dictators and would be aggressors around the world who may want to invade other countries. So which could draw the United States and create much more of a problem and an issue around the world. So that's that's why we have to continue, we believe, being behind the people of Ukraine. When we have more to share on his speech, we certainly will do that. But yes, the president is going to make a major speech on Ukraine, and when we have those information, we'll certainly share that. Okay, Peter.
Rita, just want to follow up very quickly. You said that it's not new, but to be clear that this was posted on the Federal Register overnight on October 4th. So just to be clear about this, the president earlier today said that he was asked, does the border wall work? He said no. But in this statement that was posted within the last 24 hours, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary says there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the border of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries into the United States. So who's right? The statement from the DHS Secretary overnight or the President's comments today saying they don't work?
So a couple of things. Yes, it showed up on the register today, but the announcement, this is not new. This is from 6 months ago.
Well, it is new because the waiving of the laws actually didn't happen.
But this is something that was out back, that the DHS was put out back in 6 months ago. So they announced.
Did they waive the laws 6 months ago?
Well, what I'm saying is DHS announced this back in June that the agency would do so. They actually said that they would do that back in DHS.
They moved forward with it today, but the initial announcement was 6 months ago by waiving the laws. So that's what's new today. Understood. So
yes.
the statement when
Just
he
want to
says
make sure we're
presently
clear
was
on that.
filed. So when he said there is presently, are you saying when he says there is presently, he was referring to 6 months ago or referring to the date of which it was filed?
What I can
10/4?
tell you is DHS announced this back in June, that they were going to move forward with this. That's what I can share with you. That's what I know is to be true and is to be fact. Look, I can speak for the president. The president said, he was asked directly, he doesn't believe a border wall is effective.
Does he have a disagreement with his Department of Homeland Security Secretary?
What I can tell you, what the president, I want to tell you what the president said and what your colleague asked him. He said, no, he doesn't believe that the border wall is effective.
Speaking in direct contradiction to what his own
I know,
Homeland
I hear
Security
you,
Secretary
I
says.
hear you. I'm speaking for the president. I'm saying that he has said that he does not believe a border wall is effective. That's what he was asked. He has said that for some time now, and it still remains to be the case. He asked, right? He asked Congress multiple times. His team has asked Congress to reappropriate the funds. They refused to do that. We're going to comply by law.
You asked the president on our behalf then, in the absence of our ability to do that, whether he disagrees with the statement that there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct
I'm
physical
happy to
barriers.
take that back. I'm happy to take that back. Go ahead.
Corinne, again on the wall, Mexico's president is saying that the plans to move forward, quote, are contrary to what President Biden had been proposing. Has the president addressed this with Mexico? Have you guys, has he talked
I mean, he
to
just addressed it in the Oval.
He's spoken to the Mexican leader.
I hear you, but that was just came out, right? I'm assuming that he just made that statement, correct?
Talked to him in advance.
You guys just saw him. He was meeting with his national security advisors, right, with the new chairman. So, first of all, you heard directly from the president. He said that he does not think a border wall is effective. So you heard directly from the president on that, as the president of Mexico is speaking to, right? So you heard directly from the president. I don't have.
Why do they just keep saying the same thing over and over again? Old man Walter doesn't think walls are effective, but then he's going to build a wall. How is that any different than him saying that the border's secure, but there's still illegals coming across the border? How is it any different? Not any different. Why keep asking the same question?
And had meetings. I don't have a call to read out from the president. Go ahead, Nancy.
Thanks, Corinne. As someone who spends a fair amount of time in the Oval Office with the president, did you ever have a troubling encounter with Commander?
No, not at all.
So he never nipped you?
No.
Were you ever wary of being
No.
around him
No,
because of the biting incidents that you had heard about?
Absolutely not. And I've seen Commander many times. I was never worried, and I've never been bit by Commander.
Have any of the members of your staff?
What I can say, I don't have numbers of exact numbers of any incidents with Commander. I do want to lay out something that my colleague, Elizabeth Alexander, over at the First Lady's office, who's our communications director, and just to be clear here, and we want to, make sure that folks understand, just in case you guys didn't see her statement here, and it goes as follows. The President and the First Lady care deeply about the safety of those who work at the White House and those who protect them every day. They remain grateful for the patience and support of the U.S. Secret Service and all involved as they continue to work through solution. Commander is not presently at the White House, on the White House campus, and while next steps are evaluated. That was a statement that came out from the First Lady's office, and so I will certainly leave it there. But no, as it relates to me, I was never weary of a Commander. I've seen him many, many times, and so I can only speak for myself, though, and I can't speak to anything else outside of that.
I'm surprised. I've been bitten by a dog. If there was a dog that had bitten 11 or 12 other people, I'd be a little nervous around that dog. Why weren't you?
I mean, I'm not sure why this has to do anything.
Gotcha.
I was just not nervous at all. So that is not a concern for me. That is not something that I can't speak to anything else outside.
She just fell apart in that moment.
The First Lady's office, and so I'll just leave it there. All right.
Will you make the dog available for questions?
Do you want me to bring the dog into the briefing room? That should be fun. That should be fun. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. If you'll take.
Is that a threat?
You said, quoting the president, that he did not believe that a wall was effective, and you, in your own words, said that it would be a waste. I wonder if you could talk about why a wall is ineffective for a number of different reasons, whether it's stopping drugs, stopping illegal migration.
Yeah.
Obviously, the president has voted for the Secure Fence Act in 2006, specifically talking about how it would be effective in stopping drugs.
Well, we believe, so first of all, he was asked, do you believe, let me get the exact, do you believe, by your colleague Selena here, do you believe the border wall works? He said no, right? He answered that directly. So we believe there are more effective ways of dealing with this, dealing with the border security. And so, of course, we have repeatedly asked Congress to make sure that CBP have the resources they need to do their jobs. And we think there are other ways to do that, whether it's smarter, more effective border security measures. And so, like border technology, we believe that works when you modernize that, and also land ports of entry. We believe that's what works to deal with border security. And so we've been very clear. The president has been very clear about this. He doesn't believe the border wall is effective, and that has not changed. That has not changed. We are complying by the law. DHS is complying by the law. That's an appropriation that came from fiscal year 2019 under the last administration, Republican leadership, and that's what you're seeing now.
I just want to follow up with a question about the letter that Governor Pritzker sent earlier this week. He asked for one person in the White House who deals with the president to be a coordinator for border issues, for irregular migration and how it's impacting some of these big cities. What's the White House response to this idea that he needs one person, because it sounds like he thinks that there's more coordination that needs to be happening?
So here's the thing. There are multiple folks here who deal with, have been in touch with governors across the country on this issue. You have the Intergovernmental Affairs Office, which is led by Tom Perez. And so that is someone who has kind of led these conversations with these governors and talks to them pretty regularly about the issues that they're having, an array of issues, not just this. And there are multiple other people that have been in touch with governors across the country. Look, let's not forget, we provided $1 billion to those counties, states, cities who are dealing with this issue, right? And so we've been very engaged, whether it's the governor in Illinois or the governor in New York, on how to move forward to really deal with the issues that they're dealing with on the ground in an effective way. And so that's what we're going to continue to do.
It is. And is the majority of this.
and that's how we're going to continue to move forward.
She might as well call on Peter and then just skedaddle.
What ways the federal government can help them on the ground. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. Two questions. One is about Commander. Are there more dogs of the First Family and the White House complex, or not? I just wanted to find out if there's more dogs.
I mean, it was just Commander that was here on campus, as I just mentioned. He's not on
Question
the
that
White
has
House
to
at
do
the time.
with the Darien Gap down in Central America. There's a lot of talks between, apparently the government of Panama is making a complaint today against the government of Colombia for not stopping up all the migration that is going through that area and apparently damaging all the natural environment there. I was wondering if the U.S. is considering any action to help either Panama or Colombia to manage the migration flows in that region.
So I don't have any new policy announcement to make at this time, but as you know, the president has had, and his team, right, whether it's DHS or State Department, diplomatic conversations with folks in the region. As you know, when it comes to migration, it is a regional issue, not just at the border in the South. And so we have consistently continued to have those conversations, those diplomatic conversations. As you know, he brought more than 20 countries to the U.S. out west in the West Coast, as you all know, to have those conversations on how we can work together. There was a declaration that was put forward on ways that we can move forward in dealing with this migration issue that we see in the region. I don't have anything new to read out, new policies to read out today. Okay.
Thanks, Green. Just a couple on the border. First, on the timing, I understand that you've said this is in the works, that it's been out for 6 months, but specifically on this notice coming out last night, is it at all related to the funding request for Ukraine that the administration has been pushing for, given what some House Republicans are saying, that they want border money right now, that they want more focus on border security? Is this some sort of, we will put this out now so we can make more of an effort to get the Ukraine funding?
Look, I wouldn't connect the two. I think, again, the president has said multiple times as answering why now, the president multiple times has asked Congress to appropriate these funds. They wouldn't do it, and so we're moving forward. This is nothing new. This was announced by DHS about 6 months ago, back in June, and that continues to stay the case. Look, as it relates to the border and what Republicans are asking for, we believe one action should not be dependent on another action. It should not be. We've been very clear. In August, the president told Congress we needed up to 4,000 more troops to support border operations, resources, equipment, and overtime to support the operations of 24,000 more customs and border protection, 39,000 more detention beds, new technology to prevent cartels from moving fentanyl. And Republicans failed. They failed to act. And in fact, as I mentioned earlier this week, there were 2 weeks ago, they put forth a CR that proposed cutting the DHS to 8%, which would remove law enforcement at the border, which would make our border less secure. And so, you know, those two things, Ukraine funding, and that should not be linked. We have seen bipartisan support in both chambers for Ukraine funding, and that's what we believe we should be moving forward and continuing that funding for Ukraine. And we've been asking the GOP, House Republicans in particular, hey, to take action, right? To take action in helping us become partners with us in dealing with what is happening currently at the border.
You've said many times that the president many times has asked Congress to cancel or shift these funds toward more effective uses at the border. How has he specifically done that? Has that been through formal budget or funding requests? When did that happen?
So I don't have the exact timeline of when those happened. Can we get that? I certainly can ask our Office of Leg Affairs. Certainly his team works on that, and so I'll ask the Office of Leg Affairs.
And this appropriated funding from 2019, does that have an expiration date?
I don't have the timeline or the date on if there's an expiration. I would refer you to DHS on that particular question. But again, we are complying by the law on this. Okay, Joe.
Could there be future border projects from the same amount allocation of funding that was appropriated in 2019? I mean, is this the end of it?
Look, I don't know about any additional funding from the fiscal 2019. I can speak to this right now as it relates to the structure that we are being compelled by law to have to deal with. Anything specifically about about border or what's next or how they're moving, I would certainly refer it to DHS.
And real quick, back on Commander, where exactly is Commander the dog right now? Is he in Wilmington?
I'm not going to go beyond
Okay.
saying that he's no longer on campus.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Phil, in the back.
Thank you. You've reiterated that the president's position is consistent when it comes to the border wall. His DHS secretary previously said in 2021 that he was against the border wall. As plenty of my colleagues have pointed out, he has recently said that there's an acute need. It seems that his secretary has changed his mind. So will the president, or has the president inquired what caused that evolution?
Of what caused the evolution of?
Mayorkas' opinion when it comes
Well,
to
you just heard from the president. I'm not going to get into.
Is he curious perhaps what Mayorkas saw?
I'm just saying that you just heard from the president. He was asked directly the question and he said no. I don't have anything else to add beyond that.
And then is there any comment on reports that a US F-16 shot down a Turkish drone that was nearing American forces in Syria?
So we did see those reports as I was walking out here. I would have to certainly confer with the National Security Council. I just don't have anything to share on that. But in the meantime, I would refer to Department of Defense.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Thanks, Corinne. Two questions on two different subjects. One, is the issue with the border wall funding the same issue that caused former President Trump to get impeached the first time when he wouldn't spend money that Congress told him to spend for Ukraine? Is it the same? If you were not to spend the money, would you be facing the same sort of threat that the former president did?
You would have to do your research and look into that.
And then the second question, unrelated topic. Three-judge panel down in Alabama has put out a new congressional map for Alabama that appears to create a new voting rights opportunity district. Is the White House aware of that, and do they have any comment on that?
So the president believes the right to vote and have that vote counted is sacred and fundamental. It is the right from which all of our other rights spring. A few months ago, the Supreme Court's ruling confirmed the basic principle that voting practices should not discriminate on account of race. We're glad to see that process result in a federal court selecting a map that allows all the people of Alabama to have their voices heard. Go ahead, Christina.
Corinne, I understand you're saying that DHS is complying with the law, but to do so, the president is not keeping his promises or his commitments to the immigrant community, to environmentalists, because he's waiving environmental laws to build this wall. Is there any concern that he's not keeping his promises?
The president is always working to keep his campaign promises. You've seen that in many other policies and issues that he's worked on. He's complying by the law. He's following, certainly we believe in following the rule of law. And that's what he's doing here. It is as simple as that.
Is he concerned about this border issue? Because it does look like he's backtracking on a promise.
He's been very clear. He even took the step to ask Congress to reappropriate the funds. That's how much he did not want these appropriated funding to be used, right? And so they wouldn't do it. He took that step. They wouldn't do it. Now DHS is complying by the law. We're following the law here. It's as simple as that. We are following the law. Go ahead.
On the, you mentioned the Pfizer healthcare strike, and the UAW strike is still going on. At what point does that become a problem for the president in terms of whether it's starting to have a negative effect on the economy overall, and will he speak out about that?
I mean, the president went to Michigan very recently, just last week, a week ago, actually, to show his support and to stand in solidarity with union workers. And that is, he did that because he believes...
Because he needed a photo op.
...bargaining rights to ask for fair pay and fair benefits. They should be able, you hear the president talk about this often, the dignity of work, having that dignity to be able to provide for their family. And he believes, as it relates to UAW, record profits should lead to a record contract. That is something that the president has been very consistent on. And so, and same for the Kaiser union workers. They have the right to strike, and they have the right to do collective bargaining, which we have seen in multiple instances in the past several months, that when both sides come together in a good faith effort, that there's a win-win situation. And so the president is always going to be proud of being the most pro-union president ever. He has said that. That's a label that has been given to him by unions, and that's because he's done everything he can to make sure that union workers are certainly respected and have that dignity, and he's going to continue to speak up for them. That is something he will never back away from.
But at what point does that become a problem if it creates a drag on the economy?
I'm just not going to get into hypotheticals here. What I can tell you is that the president is the most pro-union president for a reason, because he believes that union workers have the right to ask for fair pay and fair benefits. And it is something that they have the fundamentally right to fight for and to ask for. And so, again, he stood very proudly in taking a historic action, going to an active picket line to really...
Oh, yeah, it was so historical.
Thank you, Corinne. There is a Senate delegation going to China next week. I wonder if the White House is going to give them any advice or guidance, and if the president will talk to them before or after their trip.
So we've been in touch with Senator Schumer's, Leader Schumer's office about the upcoming Senate delegation, as you just mentioned, that trip, and we support certainly their engagement in the region. So we would have to refer you specifically to Leader Schumer. We certainly support their trip to the region. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You're up here.
This
You're
is my
throwing
old
me
seat.
off.
This is the LA Times seat, my old seat.
Okay. All right. You're Mr. LA Times?
I do.
Okay.
I do. My hometown paper.
Okay, don't tell time.
So on President Biden's first day in office, January 20th, he posted a proclamation in the Federal Register where he halted all funding that was being redirected to build a border wall. And he also ended the national emergency on the southern border. Also, in the first paragraph of that proclamation, he asked for a careful review of all resources that have been appropriated to the southern border wall. What was the result of that careful review?
Don't have an update on the review, but happy to actually talk to the team, and we can work with you on getting the result of that review.
It's been 2.5 years. Was part of it
I totally
the decision
understand.
in June to restart construction on that
No,
section of the
I
border?
totally understand. You asked me for a review. I'm not going to make something up from here, so I have to figure out from the team what came out of that review. So don't have an answer on that review that you're asking about from the first day of the president's administration. But I will also add that first day the president put forth a comprehensive immigration reform, right, to reform the system, to fix a broken system that has been broken for decades. Every president has had to deal with the immigration system, a broken immigration system. I don't want to say every president, but the last few for sure in the last 20 years. And so the president took that very seriously. He put forth a piece of legislation. It was his first piece of legislation, right? That's how seriously he took it. And then when Congress wouldn't act, he took action. He took action to make sure that we had CBP, more additional CBP, 24,000 CBP folks on the ground by the border. That's something that he did, make sure there was record funding. And he recently, back in August, as I just listed out moments ago, asked for more from Congress, and Republicans refused to act. Look, that is how seriously this president has taken it. Of course, there's always more work to be done. Since May, we have returned sent away or sent back more than 300,000 migrants who came here undocumented. And so that shows that our commitment to the border, and that shows a commitment in making sure that we try to work in a system that is broken. That's good. Go ahead, in the back. Okay.
Thanks, Corinne. The Supreme Court is beginning a new term, and this court has been known in the last couple of years to upend precedent on issues that this White House very much cares about. Can you talk about how you all are viewing this Supreme Court term and what you're specifically doing to prepare, given there's so many cases with issues that I know you all are watching?
So we're always going to watch what the Supreme Court does. We don't ever know until they actually make their decisions. But certainly we're going to keep a close eye on what they're going to take up and how that's going to affect the American people. But I just don't have any specifics on what we're specifically taking a look at. But of course, we're always curious and always going to be certainly focused on what the Supreme Court take up.
Acting Secretary Sue and Gene Sperling were assigned to work on the UAW strike. Are they still in Washington, or have they gone to Michigan at this point?
So I don't have anything new about any engagement from the Secretary or Gene Sperling as it relates to UAW. Certainly, if we have anything to share, we will do that. Okay, way in the back. Way in the back. Go ahead.
Two questions on the border wall.
Sure.
First, just to clarify, the White House says that it's doing this only because it has to, no other reason, like a surge in border crossings or pressure from other Democratic leaders?
DHS was required to use this funds for their appropriated purposes to comply with the law. That's what they were required to do, and we're going to continue to call on Congress to take action, to work with us on dealing with border security, to make sure that we find smart ways and more effective ways to deal with the border, and that's what we're doing. And that's what we're going to continue to work on. We've done that as recently as this past August. We've asked for $4 billion in supplemental funding to deal with the border, and we need Congress here. We need Congress to work with us on dealing with the issue that's happening at the border.
Why is the administration waiving laws to expedite construction if the border wall is ineffective?
I answered that question a couple times already. I'll answer it one more time for you. This is something that the DHS had to take a step forward in complying with the law. That's it.
Thank you, Kareem. Thank you, Kareem. As a candidate, President Biden didn't say there will not be another foot of wall constructed that except what was appropriated in 2019. He said there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. So something changed. What?
You want us to break the law? Is that what you want? You want us to not comply with the law?
I'm not.
If you cared about complying with the law, you would close the border.
Administrations that follow the
You
rule
guys
of law.
do this all the time. The student loan forgiveness program, you went to court to fight for that. If this is such a problem, building 20 miles of wall, why not just go to court?
We went to Congress. The Congress appropriates the funding.
Why not
Congress,
fight them more?
Congress appropriates the funding. We asked them to not use that funding for that particular purpose. They denied it, and now we're complying with the law.
If you have to build a border wall, but you don't think that it's going to work, then once it's done, are you just going to tear it down?
I'm not getting into hypotheticals from here. I'm just telling you what I can tell you from here. The facts are that DHS is complying with the law. This is from fiscal year. This was under
DHS is complying with the law.
Leadership, and DHS is required to do this. The president asked multiple times of Congress to reappropriate. They did not, and we're not complying by the law. Thanks, everybody.
Run, run, run. KJP, gotta run, run, run. Get up out of there before she gets another dog question. My goodness, they kind of touched on the things that we're going to talk about today, kind of like how old man Walter does to his nieces and stuff. Just slightly touched on it. We're going to deep dive into what's going on with old man Walter's dog and all that stuff. So here is the official schedule, because I didn't get a chance to do it at the beginning. We're going to be starting off with a video titled Democrats Are Afraid Trump Will Restore the Republic. It's going in talking about his case and all that, just extra details about what he's going through right now in New York. Also talks about Letitia James and all her nonsense. Then we have a video titled Texas Border Truck Inspections Causing Delays at Ports of Entry. We covered a video a couple weeks ago talking about how, I can't think where it is. I don't think it's El Paso. Somewhere in Texas, there's border entry for freight and stuff like that. And they were saying that they were going to take the border agents, they were going to take a percentage of them and relocate them to process incoming border crossers. So for a few days, they were expecting this path to slow down significantly. Now it's been over a week, And there's no more talk of, well, we're only going to do this for a few days. Now this is just in place, and it's also affecting other points of entry into the country where freight is bringing goods to us, food and stuff like that. It's now being slowed down. We're going to get into that. Then we have a video titled Biden admin seeks border wall construction, which there was a lot of talk about that at the press briefing. Not a lot of answers. So we're going to be covering that video, trying to shine a little bit more light on what's going on there. Obviously, it's very conflicting with Old Man Walter saying they'll never build the wall, and now they're building the wall. Obviously, walls work, I guess. I don't understand what the point of that is, though, because they're still going to let them in. They're still going to let them in. There's parts of the wall that have doorways that they just welded open. So they didn't have to keep opening and closing the gates. They just left them open so the border crossers can just walk right in. If that's happening, why build more wall? Maybe just some more blue team patting on the back. Look at the great things we do. That's the only thing I can assume. Then we have a video titled U.S. approves 9 billion doll hairs, more in student debt relief. I don't know. Supreme Court threw that out, said that they were not going to be clearing student debt and whatever, and then they're still doing it. So much for complying with the law. Then we have a video titled Biden's dog Commander evicted from White House for biting. They can give us a little bit more detail on that. They do not tell us where Commander is. If it was my dog or your dog, they'd put the dog down after just maybe even a single incident of biting. They're just saying that the dog it's not on the property. That's all they're saying right now, because they don't want to say that they didn't put him down, because we might feel some type of way. Because like I said, if that was me or you, they'd put our dog down after the first incident, not 12, 15 incidents later. Then we will be wrapping things up with a video titled NASA to build moon homes by 2040 for civilians. So we're going to get electric cars, then we're going to move to the moon, and we're going to live on the moon. And that might sound interesting to some of you hearing this. We don't have rights on the internet. Look how we get treated on the internet. You don't have rights on the moon. How do you think that's going to go? I think they're going to have slave camps on the moon. I mean, I'm just saying. According to how history goes, the starting point usually isn't very good. It's very primitive, and it develops into something more modern. We might see some historical events on the moon, like we used to before the Civil War. I could totally see some Auschwitz-level stuff happening on the moon, but we'll get to it when we get to it, because a part of me still doesn't even believe we ever went to the moon. So I don't know. That it is what it is. We're going to be starting off with this first video titled Democrats are afraid Trump will restore the Republic.
All right, joining me now.
Alright, got this set up. Want to remind you guys, go check out the Free the Orange Eagle t-shirt, zipper hoodies, pullover hoodies, tank tops. What else we got? Long sleeve shirts, I think. We got a little bit of everything. We got shirts for men and women, so if you got boobies or you don't, we got shirts for you, so go check that stuff out. We got Free the Orange Eagle. We got the Second Amendment, guns, family, and God, and all that stuff. Designs. We got the Screaming Goat. We got all kinds of cool stuff over there on the merch store. I will post the links in the chat while you guys are watching this first video. Once again, this one is titled Democrats are afraid that Trump will restore the Republic.
All right, joining me now, Ned Ryan, founder and CEO of American Majority. Ned, they are running out of ways to try to stop Trump. But his point along has been, they're coming for me because I'm standing for you. And he's just a stand-in for what they want to do to the American people. Is that an overstatement on his part, or do you think that pretty much is the pitch down the middle?
No, I think it's exactly right, Laura. When you think of the attacks that are being made on freedom of speech, freedom of thought, free flow of information, the whole goal being to get to the truth, it's clear that the other side in this debate is terrified of the truth. Only wants the official narrative and their propaganda to get through, and anything that's not that, they're going to label as misinformation, for fear that the American people might fully understand the truth of how D.C. works, what's actually taking place, and once they're equipped with the truth, vote accordingly. Of course, they're going after Donald Trump because they view as an existential threat to the administrative state. And some people have said if Donald Trump gets elected, he's going to go on a revenge tour. No, he's going to go on a restoration tour. He's going to work to restore us back to a constitutional republic instead of this ruling class and administrative state that, quite frankly, has nothing to do with a constitutional republic. That's what they're afraid of, Laura. They're afraid that if Donald Trump gets back to power, the status quo that I think has been in existence for well over, call it 100 years, will be upended, and that we'll actually get back to the path of restoring the republic. That's what they're terrified. That's what they want to prevent by taking out Donald Trump.
Yeah, when you turn over the rocks, then a lot of stuff crawls out from under the rocks. And we're going to see just how bad Washington is. Well, another thing that they do, Ned, though, of course, is they throw around charges, whether you're a violent extremist, domestic terrorist, a threat to democracy, or they hint or cite racism as the heart of the problem. This is what Letitia James said today.
What they were comments that unfortunately fomented violence, comments that I would describe as race baiting, comments unfortunately that appeals to the bottom of our humanity. This case was brought simply because it was a case where individuals have engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud.
Ned, that's where it is. And she is insisting that she's just following the law. It's just because there's a pattern of fraudulent disclosures about the purported wealth of his companies and his businesses, that's the only reason she's doing it. She expects us to believe that?
I'm beginning to think Letitia James doesn't really understand how real estate investment, loans, et cetera, real estate valuation works. I think part of that is complete ignorance on her part. I do realize that when people lack merit in their arguments, in their case, and understand they are moving forward on the thinnest of pretenses, they always go back to name calling. When you revert to name calling, you've already lost the argument. So for her to go and say it's racism, race baiting that is taking place, I think it's really a signal to me that she realizes she's losing this argument in this case. But again, they're not going to stop, Laura. I mean, I tell you, I will tell the listeners, from now until the elections in the fall of 2024, the left will continue to use lawfare, the legal system, as a political weapon to try and throw sand into the gears of the Donald Trump campaign in hopes that somehow they will prevent him from winning in November of 2024.
Well, I want to go back to this Newsweek piece that broke late today. It's explosive about the FBI targeting Trump supporters. Everything that we expected, it seems like it is happening. A senior intel official said that we've crossed the Rubicon. Trump's army constitutes the greatest threat of violence domestically, politically. That's the reality and the problem set. If the half of the country, Ned, approximately, the voting public, is basically siding with domestic terrorism, I mean, that seems like it's license for the government to take lots of extreme measures to deprive them of their liberty.
Well, it feels like the president last week saying, America first, they're an existential threat to the very soul of this country, dehumanizing, demonizing. This week, we find out from Newsweek that FBI is actually trying to target America first as domestic terrorists, again, following their trend, pro-lifers, conservative Catholics, concerned parents at school board meetings. I think the real tell in that article to me, Laura, was when an FBI officer said, well, this would apply equally even to the Democratic Party, but their supporters aren't given to violence. Dude, did you Rip Van Winkle your way through the 2020 BLM and Antifa riots, in which there were billions of dollars destroyed, dozens and dozens of lives cost by those riots, and real domestic terrorists? And what they're telling us is, well, actually the real terrorists in this country are the prayerful pro-life grandmas, and those BLM Antifa folks, they're mostly peaceful. I think the thing that is, again, terrifying to me is when you don't have equal application of the law and use it as a weapon, there is no rule of law. And it also should become apparent to people, if that's how it's approached, you're not a citizen, you're a subject.
Yeah, well, you're subhuman. And you can't govern a country that you hate. You can only rule over the country that you hate. Ned, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Well, Trump's a racist fraud. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's why everybody made him president back in 2016 and so many voted for him in 2020, because he's a racist fraud. And if half the country votes for him because of that, well, then does that mean that it's okay? Kind of like we're an English, Spanish-speaking country because the majority of us speak those languages? So are they going to make racist fraud okay? They're so stupid with the things they say. Letitia James is an idiot. She's an idiot with the eyes of a Shih Tzu. Her and Captain Hot Dog Fingers Kirby, they got eyeballs on full surveillance. I don't know. Can't trust them. Can't trust them. She sounds stupid as shit. And then, not only is old man Walter constantly pointing fingers at the ultra extreme super terrorist MAGA group, ultra dark MAGA and all that stuff, and then we also have all the courts constantly indicting President Trump every time Hunter Biden's name gets brought up or old man Walter gets brought up for the things that he's done wrong in the last 300 years he's been a public figure. They have to indict Trump every time that happens. Well, on top of that, if you support Trump, you're now potentially a terrorist. Half of America is potentially a terrorist right now. Yeah, that doesn't sound like tyranny at all. That doesn't sound like it at all. You're going to rig a certain process that puts the leader of the country in office. Then you're going to try and smear campaign the Orange Eagle. Now you're coming after the people that support him. Yeah, that's not a tyrannical government. That's not a tyrannical government. And at the same time, they're replacing all of us with border crossers. They're bringing in border crossers. There's enough border crossers here to supply a whole state. So, where's the line at this point? Where's the line? Oh yeah, they're following the law by building the wall. Oh, okay. Okay, well, at least they're following the law over there, I suppose, I guess. I don't know. It's not good. It's not good. I'm waiting to see what they actually do about it, because at one point, concerned parents were a potential domestic terrorist. If you celebrate Christmas, you're a potential terrorist. If you celebrate Hanukkah, you're a potential terrorist. If you acknowledge what happened on 9/11 day, because I can't say it because YouTube's watching, but if you acknowledge that day, which the slogan is, what, always remember or something like that? Well, if you remember, you're potentially a domestic terrorist. What else was there? There was all kinds of stuff. And now if you're a Trump supporter, you're potentially a domestic terrorist. When is the actions going to start, though? Like, does potential terrorists mean that they have the okay to just monitor anybody that falls in these categories, to step on your right to privacy so they can collect data on you because you might be a threat one day because you have American values? Or does that mean that one day they might just come get you and they've already justified it? I'm waiting to see how it goes. I'm sure they won't do anything until next year, because next year being the election year, we're going to see alien invasion, fire in the streets, all the crazy stuff. Maybe KJP will pull her human flesh off and we can see what her face really looks like, especially without the 19 pounds of makeup that she puts on to try and make herself look like a whole different nationality. Well, we'll see. I guess we'll see. I assume next year we'll see. We'll see. They'll start rounding up Trump supporters, and they'll say, "Hey, these aren't Trump supporters. These are domestic terrorists." I don't know. We'll see how it goes. The country would sure be empty if they got rid of all the Trump supporters. We would just have graveyards. We would just have the people who voted for old man Walter. Anyways, we're gonna read through the chat really quick before we move forward. We do still have a lot to cover, so it probably won't take too much time. Hair juicer spent 3 hours doing taxes today. Then I get to hear them brag about pissing my money away on my commute. The feeling is indescribable when I hear them say work. Yeah, I can't stand here in KJP. I cannot stand hearing her talk. She's always talking about what the American people want, and it's usually some opinion that is against what I believe to be the common thought process about the border, about income, the cost of food, the cost of living, money going to the overseas, all of it. Well, the American people want, well, who? Because that's not what I want. It's not what I'm hearing the hooligans say that they want. So who is it that you're speaking for, KJP? Because it's not us. It's not us. I can't stand it. She thinks she's president. You can tell by the way she talks. She thinks she's president. Old man Walter, he's just out there shaking hands and grinning over kids. KJP thinks she's running things. Annette, you're wearing your your purple Hooligan 2A shirt to the doctors today. That's awesome. That's awesome. I need to buy some new shirts. I gotta get past this stupid car thing. I was just saying this like last week. I was like, oh, I want to buy some new shirts, but I gotta save up because we got demonetized on YouTube. And then I'd hit the damn deer. Killed Bambi, killed my car all in one move, just trying to get some Taco Bell. God forbid. DCAT's already happening here in Michigan. Warren, Michigan is one of the most liberal counties in the state. It's full of millionaires. Their houses are being broken into almost on a daily basis. I believe it. I believe it. There's somewhere here in Michigan where there is so many border crossers that they're starting gangs and they're going like house to house and they're targeting people. And they're like, the whole gang isn't from this country. It's not MS-13. There's something else. I don't even think they're like an official gang with like colors and badges and stuff. I don't know. I think it's just a group of border crossers. They better not come over here though. They just got to break into one wrong house. And I don't know. Like, the biggest thing that's happening with these border crossers is that Americans are fighting back, and then they're being arrested and given prison sentences. And I understand, like, it's wrong to kill people and stuff. That's obvious. But we have the right to health and happiness. We have the right to pursue it. And if somebody from outside the country invades our country and interferes with our constitutional rights, it is your constitutional duty to defend the country. So I am lost in the process of having an interaction. Border crosser doesn't survive the interaction, but then they arrest the American? That doesn't make sense to me. That's like saying if China came to the shores and started marching onto our shores and we defend ourselves, that the government's going to show up and arrest all of us. That China's in the right for invading the country. That's basically what they're saying out loud. And the biggest problem I'm seeing is that Americans love to do the right thing. They have this engagement. Border crosser doesn't survive the engagement. The upstanding American says, okay, I had this engagement. I wish I didn't have to, but I did. Let's call 911 because that's the right thing to do. I had an engagement. I need to tell somebody. 911 shows up and arrests that person. Well, maybe if you took that last part out, we might have less border crossers here. Might have less Americans in jail. And we might just be happier as a whole. I mean, I don't know. I'm not exactly providing answers here. I'm just speculating in theory. But I'm just kind of, wondering what would happen if maybe calling the 911 part didn't happen in the process. Would that fix things? I don't know. Just throwing out ideas and, speculation and stuff. Just wondering things, okay? Just wondering out loud. I don't know. I love that they're building the wall, though. I can't wait till we get to that video. Can't wait till we get to it. DeRosa, meanwhile, the lawless get zero bail. Yeah, criminals, they just get let out for free. No big deal. Border crossers, they don't even talk about that. When border crossers break the law, that never hits the news. Because that's the last thing they want, is to show that all the people upset that the border's wide open have a reason to be upset. They don't want to show that. They don't want to show that. Ohio, Kyle, Chicago police departments are housing them, pretty much all Venezuelan. Yep. Yeah, and that's where the fires are going to start. That's where the fires are going to start. It's going to be Chicago and New York. Those are going to be the first ones that have the same kind of riots that Paris had, where there's so many people from outside the country living inside the country that they're big enough to start kicking and screaming as a group and causing problems. I mean, I kind of feel like we could have border crossers come to the house of an American and demand that they leave, and if you refuse to leave that property or you decide to defend yourself with any kind of force, that an officer would escort you off your property to allow a border crosser to live there in your place. I almost feel like that's where we are. We just haven't heard about it yet. We haven't seen it happen yet, but I think we're right there. I think we're right there. DCAT, Oakland County, northeast of Detroit. I think we might be talking about the same thing, DCAT. We might be talking about the same place. Because I can't remember exactly where I read that there's so many border crossers in Michigan that they're grouped up as a gang and they're going like house to house and hitting houses up, taking everything inside. Breezy, we're not American people, we're terrorists, remember? Only if you support the Orange Eagle. Only if you support the Orange Eagle. If you take your kids and turn their wiener inside out, you vote blue team, you have multiple colored hair, you believe that killing a baby is some form of woman's health care, then yeah, you're not a terrorist. It's only if you believe in God, if you believe we should close the border, if you think the Orange Eagle would be a good leader, you're a damn terrorist. You worry about your kids, you're a terrorist. That's where we are in the world. That's how we're doing things, I guess. It's not really that we're doing it, it's just happening to us. It's happening to us. SSPC, not in my hometown. Yep. That's the thing about Michigan. There's a lot of small towns. They better just keep that shit in Muskegon and Detroit and Lansing and all those places, those big cities where they love chaos and dumpster fires, because they bring that shit to a small town. They're going to find out. They're going to find out. I mean, just up the road, there's a Dollar General from me, like 3-4 blocks away. And I never go there because their staff is crap. Half time it says they're open, you get there and they're not. But just the other day, there was a guy who caught his girlfriend cheating, and before having a conversation, he shot the other guy. So allow a border crosser to come here and actually do something wrong and see how that goes. Like, because people here, they're not messing around. They're not messing around. It's not good. But I do not fear border crossers here. Not at all. Not at all. Well, we're going to move on to this next video. It's titled Texas Border Truck Inspection Causing Delays at Ports of Entry. Once again, like I had mentioned earlier, we covered a video very similar to this, and I want to say it's called Eagle Pass or something like that. I actually think that's where Oreo Express is right now. We covered a video, I believe, talking about that specific entry point, and they were saying for a few days they expect things to slow down because they are rearranging where agents are, because they need more people to process illegals coming into the country. But that's not the case. Remember flatten the curve? That's kind of what they did to us again. They were like, for a few days we'll slow down the entry point. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Been talking about Truck Week here on Morning in America. Yep. We've also been talking about the immigration crisis. So we're combining those two topics, very important ones too, but we're highlighting the important work of those who drive big rigs as well as the challenges they face.
So believe it or not, the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border impacts the trucking industry. Migrant surges often strain resources. They lead to delays, hours-long lines for carriers trying to deliver cargo across the border. Stephanie Haynes joins us live from Texas to explain further. And Stephanie, this is causing some major supply chain snarls.
Yeah, this is a very real reality of the supply chain, and a critical part of it too. Carriers have to adapt to make sure that you get everything that you need in your home. We're talking cars, electronics, even food for your table. All of this comes over from Mexico every day, and Mexico is the United States' top trading partner. Hours-long lines of trucks at the southern border are causing headaches for those in the trucking industry.
6 horas lo que nos vamos a llevar para poder ya salir de aquí de la Americana.
In El Paso, cargo processing at the Bridge of the Americas remains suspended. And in Eagle Pass, one of 2 bridges has been closed for weeks, all because federal officers are being moved from processing trucks to instead processing migrants.
From the driver's standpoint, the experienced drivers know when they get to the border there's going to be this delay, and so maybe they've gotten themselves accustomed to it, but the newer drivers may not understand, and there's a frustration there.
Temporary closures at some ports of entry are forcing drivers to bottleneck through others, delaying the imports of critical goods into the United States.
You've arranged for a truckload to take those goods from Mexico to the border, to get them through the border, and most often that truck doesn't continue going to the United States. Another truck has come from somewhere in the United States to pick up those goods. And if those goods are delayed by 1 day at the border, then that's a day that truck and that driver has lost their productivity.
In Eagle Pass, officials say fewer than half of the usual 850 trucks
are crossing each day, and many wait anywhere from 4 to 7 hours and then undergo enhanced safety and equipment inspections by Texas DPS, which some say further slows down commercial traffic.
Right now, they're the biggest roadblock to getting them into the United States as quickly as possible.
In response, Texas DPS sent a statement reading in part, quote, "We hope that the enhanced commercial vehicle safety inspections at these port of entries deter the placement of migrants and other smuggling activity along our southern border, while also increasing the safety of our roadways." Federal data shows Mexico is now the United States' top trading partner, with around 7 million truck crossings into the United States from Mexico in all of 2022. And any delay is a potential for lost revenue, which could lead to possible price hikes and impact your wallet.
I think until they resolve the other issues at the border, this is going to be a back burner issue.
CBP says it's offered extended hours at other ports of entry to try to alleviate some of the bottlenecking, but no word on when those bridges will be back open. Adrian.
And thank you for watching. Go to News Nation.
Well, they even brought Eagle Pass up, saying less than half freight is coming through every day. Now, I think that's because they actually made an announcement about that port of entry. Like I said a couple weeks ago, they pretty much made an announcement. They were like, we're cutting staff in half in this area, and things are going to take longer because we don't have as much staff to do the inspections and stuff, which probably means more things are being smuggled into the country, which they didn't say that in that video, but that's what it sounds like to me. Less people to inspect means the accuracy of the inspection is a lot less, because now that, say you had 10 agents, right? And you take 5 of them, you relocate them. Now you have 5 agents to do the job of 10 agents. So now when you used to do a thorough inspection and stuff, your boss is barking down your back to hurry up and get onto the next truck. So now you're just doing one of these. You're just, nope, looks good, you're good to go. And you're not checking anything. You're just doing your job. I know that firmly because I've worked in sensitive areas, and the same idiots that work at McDonald's are the same stupid people that work in sensitive areas. Yeah, they might be a Border Patrol agent, and they may be good at their job, but they're still people. And when a boss is barking at you and you don't want to hear that shit, and it's hot and you're having a hard day and your staff just got cut in half, think about how waitresses are, bankers, all that stuff. I'm sure you guys have experienced it, especially during the plague. Staff shortages go down, quality of service also goes down. That's what happens. And so if their job is to inspect freight to make sure what's coming here is supposed to be coming here, the accuracy just went out the window. So now they're smuggling in stuff, or they could be smuggling in stuff that we don't even know about, on top of the people who are already illegally entering the country who are unknown. They're just unknown people. And they're using kidnapped children to get here so they can have $2,200 put on their EBT card every month. And now we're I don't know if it's the next one, but one of these videos we're going to cover, we're hearing about how cartels are going to places where these border crossers are, who have these EBT cards and are getting these checks every month, and the cartel is collecting. It's almost a mafia style. They're coming in and saying, you owe us. We got you here. You want to stay here. You want to stay on this side of the ground. You're going to have to give up some of that government money you're getting. And so they're coming in like pimps, and they're collecting off of all these border crossers on our side of the border. There's cartel here doing that. So it's not good. It's not good. I'm going to read through chat really quick, and we are going to move forward. My goodness. Cassandra, those border crossers hate America. The culture they came from have them programmed to believe that they are poor because of America. Yeah. Yep. And that's a big thing in like North Korea and stuff. If you were to show up and say you're there to help with legitimate, genuine intentions of helping as an American, they would refuse your help because they've been so brainwashed to believe that everything bad that's happening in their life is America's fault. And the way they portray us is the way that we are portrayed in movies. Americans are loud and fat and ignorant and unruly, and that's how we're all portrayed in movies, and that's because that's entertaining to us to see Americans being ignorant. Just like if you're at Walmart and you see people getting into it, some people walk away, but the majority of people gather to see this shit show unroll. That's just the way we are. We like entertainment like that. Unfortunately, that image that's just entertainment to us portrays to other countries that that's how America really is. They think that's how we are. Even in Canada, there's people in Canada that really think that our beaches are just beached whales, that our pops, like pops, soda if you're down south, comes in a 2-liter. We can't get a Coke that's less than 2 liters. You can't get a fry that comes in anything less than a bucket. They think that's how we are, even in Canada, which is just right next door to us. And it's because the way we're portrayed in entertainment, whether it's social media or movies or TV shows, but then we also have the propaganda machine that doesn't help us out at all, because all they do is tell you bad things. Well, when non-Americans see this kind of news, they're like, look, Americans don't even like Americans. Why should we like Americans? And so I totally believe you, Cassandra. I totally believe you. They are programmed to think that we're the most terrible. We are like a cancer to the earth. So yeah, when they come here, they don't feel anything for us. Not at all. Not at all. Just reading through the chat really quick before we move forward. Hair juicer guy I know caught his wife cheating. He bit the dude's nose off and was acquitted on defense of another. That's crazy. That's crazy. That stuff happens here a lot. Lots of domestic issues are difficult. Relationships are difficult. For sure. For sure. I have gone through my share of hard times and stuff like that. And I feel like I've talked to a lot of people who have gone through hard, at this point, the way that America is now, we all have gone through hard times. But a lot of people don't know why. They don't know why. And I always believe it's because of the law of relativity. You have to go through all those shitty relationships so you can value when you have a good relationship. So you don't make stupid choices to throw that person away, to cast them away as if you could just find another person with that quality. You wouldn't be able to acknowledge and appreciate their quality as a human being if you didn't go through all those bad relationships. And so you got to walk that walk, and there's nothing to it but to go through it. And that's how I developed to believe things. That's my belief system when it comes to relationships and things like that. Just reading through the chat really quick. Cassandra, yeah, a lot of them refuse to assimilate to their new environment. Even animals instinctively adapt to new environments. I've met border crossers that don't want to learn English, the language of the land. Yeah, it's true. They want to come here and make this place their place. This was widely talked about when people from the Middle East were pouring into the country, and we were having issues where they were like slaughtering goats in town and just doing things that's accustomed to their country. And when we try to be like, hey, this is not how we do things here in America, of course they claim racism and stuff like that. And so then government programs get rolled out to where we're forced to comply with what they do in the Middle East because that's where they come from. And we need to accommodate all their little feelings. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, hey, come here. This is a great place. We have lots of great opportunity here. But when you come here, act like a piece of shit. So we have to conform to your values of your country because it was so great you wanted to leave. Like, it makes no sense to me. It drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts how stupid that stuff is. Cassandra, it's ironic to leave Mexico to get away from the cartels, only for the cartels to come in right after them. Yeah. Yep. I don't think they're informed enough to get out of the plastic bag. I think they're just trapped in a plastic bag as a like a euphemism for their life or whatever. They're just trapped in these conditions. They're not educated enough or have enough resources to really get their feet on the ground. The cartel's shoving them around. Hey, this is what you're going to do, whatever. They get on this side of the border. They still don't know what the hell's going on. They're asking border agents, hey, what do I do? And he's like, you can do whatever you want. You're in America. You can go wherever you want. We covered a video just a week ago or something where border agents were literally saying that. Letting them off the bus, you can do whatever you want. You're free. That's what he told him. He's not free. He doesn't have rights. He's not free. He's not supposed to be here. But that's what they tell him. That's what they tell him. And then they come here and act like assholes, or they're still getting preyed upon by the cartel. So it's like they just traveled. That's all that happened. They traveled. They're still living under not the greatest of conditions. So I don't know. If we actually enforce the law, things would work correctly. That's the whole point of having the law. But as long as we're worried about feelings and special treatment, nothing's gonna work right. DCAT, they didn't follow the laws in their own country. Why would they follow the laws here? It's true. It's true. Absolutely. SSPC, I think most people from outside the US think we all support this stuff as a group, but we don't. The mainstream media is responsible for showing us in that light. Absolutely. Absolutely. I talk about it all the time how I wish that my voice was a little louder. Because we will cover things, or we will experience something, and then a month later I'll watch someone else experience it who's bigger than I am. And I always feel like I wish I could reach those people and prevent this from happening. Because the more people that do kind of like what I'm doing and what we're all doing, the louder we are. And the message that we're yelling is going to be heard by more people because we're bigger. We're, easier to be detected. But it would take a lot for us to be louder than the mainstream media, and especially internationally. So it's rough to fight against the propaganda machine and still be heard. Thankfully, there's people out there that have good values who are willing to dig for the truth instead of just take it from the CNN face value. The soft and stupid people out there, they get that CNN gossip and they just take it. That's good enough for them. But for people who have quality and actually want better for their life, face value is not good enough. They need to look into it. This is something they're going to invest in. They need to know what's going to happen with the future, what's happening with the laws, what's happening around them, what's happening in other countries, what's happening in our country. It's not good enough, just titles. Titles aren't good enough. Got to read the article. And so that's kind of what we do here. But unfortunately, as long as those soft and stupid people out there are throwing their money at the propaganda machine, we'll always be competing with that loud screaming of lies. Dangleberry, Trump is considering to visit the U.S. Capitol next week ahead of House speakership vote. Yes, you actually just reminded me. I had a couple, I hate the ums. Oh, where's all my posts at? There was some posts that I was going to read at the beginning. I totally forgot because I was worried about KJP coming out. Oh, why can't I find it? There was all kinds of stuff that were awesome. Maybe I can find it. From Disclose TV an hour ago. Trump is considering to visit the Capitol next week, where he is open to pitching himself as a speaker candidate. And that's from Politico. So Disclose TV posted that an hour ago. 2 hours ago, mortgage rates in the U.S. soared to their highest level in nearly 23 years. And then the last one here, 2 hours ago, U.S. warplane shot down Turkish drone over Syria. I meant to read that to you guys earlier, but better late than never. Thanks for reminding me, Dangleberry. Yep, things are going on. Things are going on. The Rosa dropping them off at the Dollar Generals. They're dropping them off everywhere. Everywhere. Those border crossers are everywhere. Peyton, Orange Eagle is a master troll. I think so too. It cracks me up. Everything he does cracks me up. Everything he does just isn't like the average American, I feel. And there's nothing average about Trump, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. But, somebody mentioned Trump for Speaker of the House. Like when they're still trying to figure out who's going to be the Speaker of the House. But somebody did mention it. They did bring it up. And it's probably more than one person that actually brought Trump up. That reached Trump's ears. He's like, guess what? We're going to see D.C. Going to D.C. pretty soon. And I love that because that just cracks me up. And every time he speaks, he's talking the stuff that I'm seeing. When he talks about the country, he talks about how things are going. things that we're experiencing. When he says the American people feel this way, I'm like, yeah, that is how I feel. And that's how I see a lot of hooligans expressing how they feel. And it always feels like, yeah, we're all on the same page. And then KJP comes out and she's like, we're doing great. And I'm looking around and I'm like, who's we? Who's we? Because we're not doing great. Outside of the White House, we're not doing real great out here. So it's always good to hear from the Orange Eagle. I can't wait to see what happens with that. With him going to, consider to give a proposition of being Speaker of the House. I'm interested to see how that goes. I still don't understand why it would be a good thing for him to be Speaker of the House versus being President. And what would happen if he was Speaker and then Old Man Walter was in the main office again? How would that go, and how would that be a good thing? I just don't understand enough about the relationship between Congress and President. I didn't know anything about government until I started being a live streamer. I didn't know this is how I was going to get my government education, sitting here live streaming. Let's read through the chat really quick. A couple more comments, and we're going to move on to the next one. Grip. I moved to Denmark from Canada in '89, which is when I was born. I comply with everything, and it's been wonderful. I get a lot of respect and interest about Canada. I believe it. I believe it. I don't know anything about Denmark, but when I was dating that Canadian, I thought it was cool. I don't know. I'm trying to think how to respond to that. Well, I'm glad you're being treated appropriately, Grip. Donald, the office belongs to the citizens of the United States. I agree. Of course, you can't tell that to the J6ers. They're still in the gulag. All right, we're going to move on to this next video. It's titled Biden Admin Seeks Border Wall Construction. This is the one a lot of you guys have been waiting for. We're going to deep dive into, that's probably a little excessive. We're going to gather more details on what exactly is happening with Old Man Walter's wall that he said he would never build. And didn't they sell parts? Didn't they sell parts of the wall or something like that? And there was a big deal about that. I don't know. I'll have to look back into it. I know we covered something about it. Either way, let's get this started.
President Biden giving the green light to build 20 miles of border wall between Texas and Mexico.
And now the Biden administration is waiting dozens of federal laws to do it. It's the first time the administration has used this type of executive power. Our Chelsea Edwards joins us live in the studio. And Chelsea, border agents say there have been nearly 3 million encounters with illegal migrants within the last 12 months.
Yeah, Denise, Selena, we're talking record numbers. You may remember back in 2020, President Biden said, quote, not another foot of wall would be built under him. But with the recent surge at the border, that sentiment has obviously changed. The Department of Homeland Security posted this announcement Wednesday, the White House waiving 26 federal laws that will allow for border wall construction in Stark County, Texas. That's a busy area for Border Patrol that's been seeing high illegal entry there. Border Patrol says more than 260,000 migrants came into the country just in last month alone. That's the highest monthly total ever recorded. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says there is an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the border, end quote. He added in a statement that the wall will be built with 2019 funds appropriated by Congress. Now, this surge is quickly draining resources in border towns and beyond. New York City's Mayor Eric Adams journeyed to Latin America, hoping to discourage those seeking shelter from coming to New York.
Basically, it has given the false promise of what life is like of being a migrant and asylum seeker.
So here are some of the federal laws being waived by DHS: the Clean Air Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and Endangered Species Act to help speed up this process. However, environmental advocates, they are concerned that construction will harm habitats of endangered plants and species in the area. We'll have more coming up in the next hour. For now, reporting live, Chelsea Edwards, Fox 26 News.
Well, Just gonna build the wall, huh? This makes no sense. I can't wait for construction to start and see how that all goes. I'm trying to see what's going on with the website. I think something happened, but I don't know what. Trying to figure this out. I'm not sure what's going on with the website. I wonder if the company that holds my server is doing updates. I should have received an email about it. I probably have emails explaining what's going on. I'm not sure. I'll have to keep an eye on it. I don't know what's going on with that. I can't do much about it right this second. Just reading through chat really quick. Wasn't a whole lot of information, but now they're going to start building on the wall that they never said they were going to build on, and KJP said it had something to do with the law, but they're still letting people cross the border illegally, and what's the point of building the wall if you're going to let them in through the gates? I don't understand the whole thing. I don't understand the whole thing. That's pretty much news altogether. I don't understand the whole thing. Miss Jamie, hold on, let me see who it was. Jasmine's mom. Yeah, I'm figuring it out. I don't know what's going on with the website. That's very unnormal for, I mean, I can't get to it at all. I can't get to it all, and that's not normal. Something's going on, but I can't do anything about it right this second. Zero, it could be a DDoS attack. They wouldn't be attacking my site directly. I have preventative measures. If they were trying to attack my site, their IP address would be banned for every single account trying to hit me. Their IP would be banned. They would no longer be eligible to even reach my site. It can actually happen to a user if they try too many times to get into the site. I haven't experienced that yet, but I have protective measures because I am still being attacked by hackers since April 1st. I don't think it'll ever end now. I think all my information's on the dark web. They were coming after credit cards yesterday. Yeah, something's going on. Something's going on. I think it's with the server. It's not the site, it's the server. And there's a company that manages my server. So I'll get it looked at after the website. It'll get fixed. It's never happened before. It's not a normal thing, but we'll get it fixed. Mike, Walter's Wall. Come one, come all. Yep, pretty much. It must just be for looks. The only thing I could think of is it's for looks. Like, yeah, maybe they have to comply somehow. And I can't figure out why they would have to comply unless they're really like on the brink of maybe treason because they have the border wide open and they're definitely eligible for treason. I mean, been that way. But maybe that's starting to get brought up like in the inner circle. Maybe people on Capitol Hill are like, yo, this is treason and we're tired of it and we're going to start cracking down on you. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll start building the wall. That way it looks like we're trying to contribute to slowing down the border crossers. But really, we're going to still let them in, but you won't be able to say bad things about us because we're building a wall. And look at the great things we're doing. And I don't know. I believe that more than them actually trying to keep anybody out. Let's see. Sam, sanctuary cities are crying about how there's too many people now. Yeah. Like, what's his name? Adams or whatever, runs New York. He's like, we have too many people and we're not going to make it. Well, last month you were celebrating having all those people living on the sidewalk. Bunch of nonsense. DeRosa, they have to spend the doll hairs before they can get more funds. That's a good point. That is a good point. I didn't think about that. Maybe it is a budgeting issue. They have to spend all that money so then next year they can apply for an even bigger budget. Whereas if you don't spend all the money in your budget, usually you get the same or less as a budget for the next year. That could be. That's a good point. Garlic Press, what's the word on your vehicle? I still don't know yet. I'll call them after the live and see what I find. If you guys get a chance, please go join Gilded or jeffmaclive.com when I get the website back up. Something's going on with the server. That's all I know, but I'll get it figured out. Either way, I'll drop the link to all of you hooligans. On there you can find the link to join Gilded. Please join Gilded. It is free and the best way to receive notifications for when and where we go live every time we go live. There's tons of hooligans in there keeping the conversation going every day, which is, I mean, it's social, but at the same time, if something happens, if something crazy happens, breaking news kind of situation, everybody's right there networking, gathering resources and figuring things out, and it is definitely the place to be if breaking news happens. So definitely go join Gilded, but I'm also going to post an update in Gilded as well as on jeffmaclive.com when I hear more about my car. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I hit a deer going 75 miles an hour night before last. Night before last. And my car is not considered totaled yet, but the mechanics are saying they don't think they can fix it. And so I'm waiting for a response from the mechanics to figure out, do they think I can fix it or not? And if I can't fix it, is the car unfixable, or can they just not fix it? And then once I know that information, then I know if I need to either find a new mechanic and pay them to fix it, or pay this mechanic to fix it, or just buy another car. So that's the situation I'm talking about. I still don't know more. I got to call them after the live, and when I know more, I will let you guys know. Once again, thank you guys so much for all the support you guys have been sending me in pursuit of either fixing or getting a new vehicle. As I mentioned yesterday, there's parts of my life that I don't get to talk about on the live because the people that I help and the children I transport to and from school and things like that, their lives would be put in danger if I was to expose my relationship with them and all these, anything about them really. It puts them in danger. But I help people. There's people in my life that are very close to me. Every once in a while I will reference a person that is special to me because I can't give any more information than that. But they're in a situation because of this situation I'm in. And so for you guys to contribute and help me get out of this spot that I'm in, because my insurance is not helping anything, and once I get rolling again, I'm going to improve my insurance, so if I smack another deer, I'm not in this situation. But I can already tell you that the people that are connected to me that I help by having a car and transporting them and their children around, they really appreciate all the contribution that you guys have given forth. It really means the world to me and to them and to those kids, and so thank you guys. But I will let you know. I will give you guys an update as soon as I know more about the car. So I keep refreshing the website. I'm getting a 504 error, which is a gateway timeout. There's something going on with the server. I'm not going to leave it up because it's going to start pulling on my internet and wrecking the live. I will get the website fixed after the live. I absolutely will. I just can't do anything right in this moment. So anyways, we're gonna move forward to this next video. It's titled U.S. approves $9 billion doll hairs, more in student loan debt relief. I always feel weird when we cover these videos because I owe $42,000, $42,906 in student loan debt, and so people always ask me if I'm all giddy about student loans being forgiven by old man Walter. I, loud and proud, do not want government money. I do not want free money. I don't want free stuff from the government. That's socialism, and it turns into communism. You cannot rely on them. They made it really obvious when they were looking at the government shutdown by telling everyone the first ones who are going to suffer from the government shutdown, it's not going to be the president. It's not going to be the press secretary. It's not going to be Congress. It's going to be me and you. And it's going to specifically hurt the people that are on WIC and food stamps and all that other stuff. And it's a big, loud scream for stop getting government money. Find another way to get help. These government programs are socialism. They're socialism. And I understand that people need help, and I really feel for those people. I've worked in donation situations with churches and stuff, food banks and things like that. I've been on the end of providing, here's a box of food because you need it, and I've been on the other end where I'm receiving a box of food because I'm homeless or whatever. I've been in all these situations, and I understand that people need help, but there is people helping people. The government's not going to help you. It is socialism. And they were very proud to say if the government shut down, you'll be the first ones to go. is the people who are getting assistance from the government. Fuck the government on that. Like, that's bullshit. So yeah, when it comes to student debt relief, I'd rather just pay it off. I'm not asking them to forgive anything. It's my debt. I signed up for it. You have to fill out a ton of paperwork when you fill out for financial aid and all that stuff. You know for a fact before you go to school that you will have to pay that money back. You know how much it's going to be. There's no reason for the government to be clearing it, and that bill shouldn't be put onto the foot of the taxpayers. You know, you guys didn't go to school when I went to school. I went to school. It's my bill. I'm paying it. Now, if they clear it, there's nothing I can do about it. But as far as I know, I'm not eligible anyways. So let's get this started.
Today, I'm announcing my administration has approved an additional $9 billion in relief for 125,000 borrowers in just the past few weeks under that program. With the latest debt cancellation in total, my administration has canceled $127 billion in student debts for nearly 3.6 million Americans. This kind of relief is life-changing for individuals and their families, but it's good for our economy as a whole as well. Next, we fixed what's called the Income-Driven Payment Repayment Program. And here's how that works. If you have an undergraduate loan, after 20 years of straight paying, not missing paying the debt on a monthly basis, whatever is left of your loan is forgiven after 20 years. But because of administrative failures, some people who did pay their loans for 20 years or more did not get the debt relief they had earned. We fixed that and made sure borrowers got credit for every single payment they made. My administration is doing everything it can to deliver student debt relief to as many as we can, as fast as we can. This is in contrast to House Republicans who helped block the previous debt relief plan and nearly shut down the government over the extreme demands, which would have hurt hardworking families.
Old man Walter. Supreme Court shut him down. He couldn't clear everybody's debt like he wanted to, and I would have been included in that sweep. But Supreme Court shot it down because it was unconstitutional. It's not his money to go and pay other people's debts. Why not pay off everybody's mortgage? Why not do that? Then everybody's got a house. They don't have to worry about, bankruptcy and stuff like that. They don't have to worry about foreclosures. Why not do that? So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Again, I'm not asking for free money or anything like that, but right now they're making it so. I think the original push through was if you feel that the school did not provide what they were selling you, which I could probably go that route. Like in my instance, I went to Full Sail University. I have a bachelor's degree in music production and audio engineering. My degree was $75,000 and I still owe $42,000 of it. So I could say, well, I'm not a rapper, I'm not a producer, I'm not an audio engineer at some big place like Columbia or Sony or anything like that. You told me you'd help me get me a job like that, but you didn't. I could file a claim and I could have my student loans forgiven because of that. There is a program that does that. Now, I'm not going to do that because I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. It's up to me to go get a job at Sony or whatever. It's not up to the school. But they rolled out a plan where you can do that. Now, what Old Man Walter has put in place is that if you've been paying student loans for 10 or 20 years, that you could be eligible to have your student loans wiped. And there's some stipulations that I'm not exactly familiar with. And then the new one, I believe, is kind of similar. You've been paying on student loans for 10 to 20 years. I think the last one was problems in your records, like making payments and having it not count towards the principal. If you had issues like that, you've been paying for 10 or 20 years, there's been discrepancies. They got that fixed. Now your student debt's going to get wiped. The new one is if you're a public service worker or something like that. If you're a social worker, if you're a firefighter, if you're a police officer, if you're something like that, and you've been paying for 10 or 20 years, now your debt's going to get wiped. And I believe that's where we are. Obviously, I'm not a public servant, so I don't qualify for that. So this month will be my first month paying on student loans again, $200 a month for the first time in like 3 years. But I've been paying on them since 2016, so it is what it is. It is what it is. DCAT, it's election season. Those Democrats know that they're going to lose because the open border policies that the administration has jammed down our throats. Yeah, I'm sure they're just trying to sell some more lies like they did with the student loan thing in the first place. They were like, we're going to forgive everyone's student loan debt and all this crap, and everybody's like, yeah, that sounds great. And then they went and voted blue team, and then Supreme Court was like, no, that's not constitutional. We can't let that happen. And then everybody's like, but old man Walter. And he's like, I'm just here to crap my pants and tell jokes, gaffes, whatever they call them. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just the face guy. He craps his pants, and then he looks right in the camera and goes, but wait, there's more. And then craps his pants again. That's all he does. Let's see, just reading through the chat really quick. Jasmine's mom, there is something going on with the website. It's not your browser, and it's not you. It's something on my end. But I can't fix it right now because I need to contact my server. I got to speak with the management team and see what's going on, because chances are they're being attacked and they've gone into a lockdown. And so the websites that they're hosting most likely are just kind of suspended for the moment, and they'll recover. But I just tried to go to the website again, can't get to it. And after I let it load for a while, I get a error gateway code. So that means that the website's not communicating with the server and there's something going on. I will have it fixed. I just can't do anything while I'm doing this. So I will have it fixed. Don't worry about it. Nobody's information is going to get compromised or nothing like that. You do not have to worry about that kind of stuff. There's just something, and it could very well not even be a DDoS attack. It could be an update. I pay a considerable amount for my database to be held, and they keep bumping me up the chain. They keep moving us to faster and faster servers. So we'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. Don't worry about it. We will get it fixed. Pumpkin, unfortunately, that is taxpayer money. The government has no money. They print money that causes inflation. Yep, absolutely. They sure do. What's up, Rappy? Happy freedom. Better late than never. Appreciate you being here. Flipping through chat really quick before we move forward. We got 2 videos left. And the next one is about old man Walter's dog. TomTom bussing votes. Yep, that's what they're doing. I think it's crazy they're bringing all those border crossers here. They're not going to pay any taxes. They're all going to vote blue team. I don't know what I'm sitting here reading these comments. Half the time I don't know. When I see names that I've never seen before, I'm always really interested to read their comments and kind of pull them off the wall and like call them out. Hey, let me respond to your comment. But sometimes the comments are so off the wall that I just don't even know how to respond. Status quo ethical standing. Yeah, absolutely. I firmly believe in integrity, like to the fullest. To the fullest. Do the right thing when no one is making you or watching. Just be a good person. Don't look like a good person. Don't act like a good person. Be a good person. We all have instincts. We all have instincts. We're creatures. We're animals. We just separate ourselves from those the beasts that walk on all fours or fly in the sky or swim in the seas. We just separate ourselves from them. We are animals that have instincts. Of course, somebody says something wrong, you want to punch them in the face. Of course, if somebody does something really wrong, you want to do more than punch them in the face. I mean, you know, we're all like this. But self-control is a superpower. And everyone can be disciplined enough in their own measure to become self-controlled. And when you can control yourself, you can control everything. Because we are all responding to something. We are always reacting. None of us are really making choices without being affected first, right? You put on a shirt because you're cold, or because you're going in public, or whatever it may be, right? You put shoes on because you don't want to walk on the ground barefoot. Everything is cause and effect. and we are all affecting each other, and we are all being affected by the environment around us and stuff. But it's up to you, under these constantly changing and evolving conditions that we exist in, it is up to you to still make the right decision, to still try and think as clear as possible under whatever circumstance is happening, and to still make the right choice and be a good person. Everyone can do it. Everyone is capable of doing it. But until you do it, you will never understand the benefits from doing it. It's not something that you can watch happen and then be like, that looks like a good deal, let me do that. It doesn't work like that. You have to do it to understand the benefits of doing it. And because of that little bit right there, that's why we have bad people. Because they can't understand the benefit of being a good person. They don't understand what it's like to be on the receiving end as a good person. It's something people just got to do. You just got to do it. And I believe everyone can do it. Just reading through the chat really quick right before we get into Old Man Walter's biting dog. Someone said that Old Man Walter beats dogs, and I totally believe that. Somebody said in the chat earlier. I totally believe that. They say he's rough with staff, that he's always yelling at staff and bitching at staff. DCAT, under the immigration system, most immigrants don't pay taxes for the first 5 to 10 years that they are here if they open businesses. Yeah, I've seen it a lot where a family will move here. I don't want to say a specific nationality, but we'll say someone migrated here legitimately, and they'll open a business such as a gas station, something like that, a quickie mart of sorts. And they'll run the business 5-10 years, not pay taxes because they legally don't have to. And before they have to start paying taxes, they will either move more family members here, or they will have another family member that came in some separate time since starting the business, and they will give the business over to this new family member. And that way the business can continue on to not have to pay taxes and stuff like that. That's why you'll go into certain gas stations, you'll see they're selling like fake Jordans and jewelry and contacts and all this stuff. It's because they don't have to pay taxes. And all they got to do is get you in the door, because gas stations don't make money off gas. Most of them don't. They're making pennies in profit from gas, but they're trying to entice you to come inside. That's why a lot of times they'll have screens that are saying, hey, we're running deals right now, or, you know, buy 2, get 1 free and stuff like that, because they want you to come inside, because what they sell you inside actually is where the profit is. And so you can kind of tell who pays taxes and who doesn't based on how much supply is inside and the variety. You go into a gas station, you might assume you're going to buy a Monster, a Pepsi, you know, something like that. And instead they got like high top sneakers and jerseys and hats and all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't expect to see in a gas station. Usually those are the places that don't have to pay taxes because they're working the system, because they have so many family members. And every 5 years they just, hey, you and so just come move to America. We got a business here. We'll teach you how to run it. And we'll just continue to not pay taxes. I've been hearing about that for years. Fresca Bean, I appreciate you being here. Happy freedom. All right, we're going to move forward, hooligans. I could sit here and talk all day. Sometimes I do. So this next one's titled, Biden's Dog Commander Evicted from the White House for Biting. Oh, Commander.
The dog.
Let's get this started.
The dog days could be over. In a new development, Commander Biden, the president's 2-year-old German Shepherd, has been removed from the White House after a string of biting incidents, at least a dozen involving Secret Service personnel. Persistent questions have dogged officials.
The First Family is working through ways to make this situation better for everyone.
Last night, the First Lady's communications director said in a statement, the President and First Lady care deeply about the safety of those who work at the White House and those who protect them every day, adding, Commander is not presently on the White House campus while next steps are evaluated. The statement came shortly after CNN, citing multiple sources, reported that Commander has been involved in more biting incidents than previously acknowledged at the White House. NBC News has not confirmed that reporting. New this morning, a Secret Service official says the scope of biting incidents is unclear, telling NBC News, "I don't know how thoroughly these are tracked. I had no visibility on the White House staff having issues." Dog behavior expert Laura Sharkey.
Most dogs that are biting in these situations are actually biting out of fear. Even though they look ferocious and terrifying, they're usually afraid.
Longtime White House grounds manager Dale Haney has cared for presidential pets going back to the Nixon years and is frequently seen with Commander. The White House says Haney disputed a published account that appeared to show he had been bitten. An official said Haney told them Commander was being playful and there was no bite, no pressure of teeth on his skin, no mark, just some dog slobber. Commander was a gift from the president's brother after another family pet, Major Biden, was rehomed to friends in Delaware after biting incidents of his own. Commander's fate remains uncertain. Officials tell me at this point he has not been rehomed. He's just not here today. Craig?
All right, well, good luck, Commander. Kellyo, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the...
So this is the second dog that old man Walter had that's been kicked out of the White House for biting. I don't believe in bad dogs, just bad dog owners. That's all there is. So if old man Walter had a dog, the dog started biting people, became a problem, had to move the dog out, moves a new dog in, as a puppy, grows up to start biting people again. Professional says that dogs bite out of fear, not out of anger. You start putting these pieces together, you start seeing these patterns. I'm thinking old man Walter is not a very good dog owner. I'm kind of surprised they didn't put the blame on the dog handler, though. The guy who handles the dogs and has since Nixon years. How come they didn't blame him? How come they weren't like, he didn't train the dog good enough, it's his fault. Him and the dog, they all gotta leave. I'm surprised they didn't do that. And again, even further, I'm surprised that they didn't just say that having dogs at the house is racist at the White House. So now old man Walter isn't going to have his dog there, but then they're going to pass a bill or some sort of policy so no dogs will be allowed at the White House. Because that's kind of how they do things. It's like if they can't do it, then no one can. Like right now, and I don't think that it's passed yet, but they're trying to figure out, Congress right now is trying to figure out how to change the process in which you pull the speaker from the chair. They don't, and I don't understand this yet, and maybe you guys can explain it to me. They pulled McCarthy as Speaker of the House, right? They took a vote. And people are blaming Matt Gaetz. They're like, Matt Gaetz, you're a bastard because it's your fault that McCarthy's not Speaker now. But they did a vote. So how is it Matt Gaetz' problem when he wasn't the sole voter in the situation, right? Everybody took a vote on it. Majority won. Speaker McCarthy is no longer Speaker. Somehow that all falls on Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz a bastard. Okay, well, that's that. They got past all that, and instead of picking a new Speaker of the House, electing them, or however that should be phrased, instead they're trying to figure out a new way to remove Speaker of the House so it can't happen again the way that it did to McCarthy. So are they saying what happened to McCarthy wasn't fair? That it didn't happen the way that it should have happened? Because if it did, then why are they changing the process? Why are they changing how speakers are pulled from the chair? What is the point of that? It was introduced, they did the process, they did the vote, he got pulled from the chair. Put somebody else in the chair. No. We're going to change the process, how that all happens instead. What? That sounds weird to me. Almost like when they change how we vote in general. Oh, we don't like how this is. So we're going to change it to be how we like it. No, don't take our opinion. We're just the American people. Yeah, don't take our opinion on it. No, you just do it and we'll just do what you say. Because it's for the greater good, right? It's so stupid. It is so stupid. Astronomical. What DAW do you use for music production? I am trained to use Logic Pro X, all versions of Pro Tools, and then I currently am learning my way through FL Studio right now. But I have 22 years experience in music production and audio engineering and lyrics and musical composition and all that stuff. Tam, this admin pisses me off like no other. Yeah, I can't stand... First, I can't stand soft and stupid people. I can't stand it. Can't stand it. When I go through Walmart and I see people who are wearing compliance cloths, I just don't get it. You know, if they got cracked teeth because they're pill heads, okay, I know why you're wearing a mask. If you're just outrageously ugly, I guess I understand why you have a mask. But if you're not in either of those categories and you're just doing it because you think that it's good for you, you're soft and stupid. That's all there is to it. Those people are soft and stupid, and I can't stand it. And the reason I can't stand it is because it just doesn't make sense. And I like to figure problems out, right? Because life is full of problems. And so I like to figure them out. I like to untie the knots of life and understand why the knots happened in the first place. And I think it comes down to my core feeling of just hating misunderstandings as a whole. I can't stand misunderstandings. I went on a rant about it the other day. And I think that learning how knots happen in life makes it easier to first identify them in life, and then second of all, how to resolve them. And so I'm constantly trying to untie these knots of life to figure out how and why this happens. But when it comes to Old Man Walter's administration, nothing makes any sense. So you can't untie the knots because you don't even know if they're knots. You don't even know what the hell they are. You have to ask them what their gender is and shit. I can't stand it. And it's just back to back to back to back, like we were talking about the border. They're going to continue the border wall, but they're also going to continue busing border crossers into the country illegally at the same time. It doesn't make sense. So it's really hard to undo this knot in life when it just doesn't make any sense. They're lying to us. They're holding secrets from us. They're spending our money overseas. It doesn't make any sense. And so it just really fries my brain because I have this drive in me to figure out why and what is happening. It drives me nuts. Makes me nuts. Serum, I vote for AJ or Ultimate Warrior. Could you imagine AJ as the president? That would be awesome. I don't know if it would be awesome, but it would be entertaining. I know that. Let's read through chat really quick before we get to this final video here. Talking about building homes on the moon. It's something else. It is something else. Dance Master, I think Jordan voted no because the impeachment hearings, they better continue with the next speaker. I heard that there's been suggestions of Jim Jordan being Speaker of the House, and he seems like a pretty good guy. He seems like he's about making sense and stuff like that. So I think he might be a good Speaker of the House. I don't know if he'd be better than Trump, but once again, I don't understand the relationship between Congress and the Oval Office. So I don't understand why Speaker of the House being Trump would be better than him being the president. I don't understand that, but I understand why one or the other would be better than neither. I do understand that. Zero, it happened exactly how it's supposed to. Well, everything does. Everything happens for a reason. Whether it's God's reason or Old Man Walter's reason, but in the end, God will win. It's just no other way around it. Mike, you can't fix stupid. You can't. You cannot. Unfortunately. Raja, yeah, you got to watch that stuff. You got to look at the federal loan, student loan stuff. You got to watch them, because to them it's just number on a page. To you, it's your whole life. So yeah, you got to watch them. And there is forms. If stuff is happening that isn't supposed to be happening, or they make promises to you that they do not keep, you can file a form and have those student loans taken away. If my education wasn't everything that I wanted it to be, I would do stuff like that. I would file those forms and get that loan revoked. But I enjoyed my experience at school and stuff. I wish I could go back, honestly. I'd like to go back and get my master's, but what would that do other than cost money and give me more student loans? Sam, we need less government ass clowns. We do. We need less government. I'm not anti-government. I'm for government reform. Fixing government. Government reset. I don't know. Whatever sounds best. Happy Freedom Soul for real. I appreciate you being here. What's up, TH? Happy Freedom. Yep. I mean, I miss hanging out all night with the protests and stuff. I don't really miss watching the protests. I feel like I do until I go back and watch old videos from us being live in 2020. I don't miss the screaming and ignorance. I think I do in the moment, but when I actually go back and watch it, I can't even watch it. It just doesn't have the unpredictability isn't there anymore. Now we have an understanding of how screwed up life is, but back then we didn't know. We were going from normal to the new normal, and so we were all locked in our house, and we were like, what's going to happen next? And so it was really interesting to watch what is going to happen next. But now we have a feel of how things go, and when I go back and watch that footage, I just think it was neat in the moment because we didn't know. But now we know. And so now it's just like watching ignorance. It's not even any different than watching World Star videos. Like the fight videos where fights just break out and people are getting slammed on their heads on the cement and stuff. Just for no reason. Some ignorant neighborhood with people who are crackheads or fighting each other because somebody stepped on somebody else's shoe or something stupid like that. That's what we were watching. And it was entertaining and it was exciting because we didn't know what was going to happen next. But going back and watching it now, I'm just like, I can't believe we watched so much of that. Can't believe we consumed so much of it. And it was like not good for my mental health to consume so much of it. But I do miss us being gathered for such long periods of time and being able to see what was going on. Because that's the other problem is nobody goes live anymore. There's like near no live streamers anymore. So it's very hard to figure out what is happening around us when we can't get boots on the ground. And a lot of it has to do with community guidelines on these platforms have suspended or banned the accounts of individuals that used to live stream on these platforms. Most live streams are captured on TikTok now. And so we would be looking at videos just up and down the center of the screen in portrait mode. And, well, you know how TikTokers are. So that's it. If protests happen, we'll be watching TikTok videos because that's the only place that people go live, unfortunately. But I keep an eye out. I'm not against showing protests or anything like that. Things kick off again. We'll absolutely be showing them. I'm just not as excited as I thought I would be prior to going back and watching old videos. Alright, we're going to move on to this last video here. It's titled NASA to build moon homes by 2040 for civilians. I don't know. I have lots of thoughts about this. I love when I stop the video and they're making those stupid faces. I think I love it because every time my video is a still image, I'm making a stupid face. So this is like relief for me. Anyways, let's get this started.
That's pretty cool. NASA is planning on building homes in a subdivision that is out of this world, and quite literally too. It's not just for astronauts, but for average people like you and me. The space agency recently awarded a Texas-based construction technology company a $60 million contract to build moon homes for humans by 2040. Former NASA astronaut, current USC astronautical engineering professor, and SpaceX senior advisor Garrett Reisman's been on 3 spacewalks. He's joining us now. Professor Reisman, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure, Marky. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so civilian subdivisions on the moon by 2040. Mars apparently not long after that. Looking into your crystal ball, do we actually see this happen?
You know, I think we will get there eventually. No question. As long as we find a way to get along, I think humanity is destined to move out into the solar system. The moon's a good place to start. And as you mentioned, Mars is really the goal. But the moon is a lot closer, and there's a lot we need to learn before we're ready really to head out directly to Mars.
Yeah, we'll see if 17 years is enough time to figure it out, all the moving pieces. I wanted to ask you about this. I know that NASA, to build this, NASA wants to launch a giant 3D printer to the moon and use lunar concrete made of rocks, mineral fragments, dust to layer the structures of these homes, basically using everything that's already up there. Why 3D printing to build lunar habitats?
Well, in either going to the moon or going onto Mars, we really need to find a way to live off the land. The problem is that it's really hard to bring a lot of stuff with you. So, mass, volume, these are all precious commodities. The rocket can only carry so much. So if you wanted to build a house on the moon and you needed to take cinder blocks with you, that's really not going to work. But if we could find a way to live off the land and use the resources that are available to us, then you can do a lot more and construct a lot more. So if we could 3D print by using lunar regolith material to turn that into basically concrete to build our homes, that's a great way to go. And that's why NASA's interested in developing this technology.
Yeah, there's no Home Depot up there to just go buy your lumber. You can get all the supplies you need. I was also reading how expensive it is. Just each additional kilogram of weight carried on a rocket to the moon costs about $1 million. So not feasible there. And the last thing I wanted to ask you, we probably have some viewers at home saying, I'd be willing to give this a try in 17 years. I mean, why not? But what kind of life would you warn someone that they'd be in for if they were one of the first to try this out? Because, I mean, I imagine people wouldn't just have cars to go to the grocery store or the nearby airport every time they wanted to go on a vacation or go home. What do you tell folks who might want to try this?
Yeah, if you're thinking about buying real estate on the moon, there are other considerations, and just like how good is the local school district?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a harsh environment. There's no air. You're in a vacuum. There's a lot of radiation up there as well, and you're living in partial gravity. All these things can really affect your health and well-being, and so it's not for the faint of heart. And you're right. There's no Home Depot. There's no restaurant to go out to. There's no pizza on the moon.
Yeah, no Trader Joe's.
So we'll get there though.
Yeah, well, you and I will check back in 17 years, see if we've hit the goal, hit the mark. Professor Garrett Reisman, thanks so much for your time, sir. Really cool.
My pleasure. Good to be with you.
I'm telling you.
Thank you for watching. Go to News.
Building homes on the moon. I don't know. I feel like we can't even take care of the Earth. Well, I don't think we should be going and polluting other planets, but at the same time, I understand why they are 3D printing things on the moon, or why that would be maybe their strategy for housing and stuff like that. But have you guys actually seen 3D prints? A buddy of mine does 3D printing, and he makes all kinds of cool stuff. I don't happen to have anything here on the desk right now, unfortunately. Well, I have this. He made this a few years ago. I mean, this isn't the quality you would see today. I've been Jeff Mack for a long time, if you don't know that, since I was 12 years old. So that thing I just showed you, it's just a slate of plastic, is very old. It's very old. But 3D printing, if you don't know, is, layering. It's just layering plastic or some sort of material. There's a variety. But the problem is if you don't get it just right, it doesn't adhesive to each other. It doesn't stick. It doesn't bond. And so splits can happen in the layer. If you build a home that's layered like that and it doesn't stick, you're going to have air gaps in a world that lives in a vacuum because there's no atmosphere. Then think about, what if a McDonald's worker built that? Because the people who are going to go do that stuff are not any better, smarter, more than a McDonald's worker. I don't know that I would want to go to the moon to live in a structure that was made by 3D printing when you're under the pressure of a vacuum. Now, 3D printed homes here in the U.S. Is a thing. It's a growing thing. They're cheap and whatnot. I don't know how popular they are. I don't know anyone that's ever lived in one, but I've been seeing advertisements for 3D printed homes for 5-10 years, maybe even longer. And so I know it's a thing. Now, you don't have the same problems here on Earth, because if there's gaps in the walls and you don't have insulation or anything in between you and the outside, you're going to get a draft. If there's a gap in the wall in space, you're going to have an implosion, and you're going to look like the sub that went down to the Titanic. You're going to be a crushed Sprite can. So I don't know. I don't know. I see way more problems than good of being on space. And once again, you don't have a Bill of Rights in space. You do not have rights. We don't have rights on the internet. And look at how we're treated on the internet. Look at how we're shoved around and banned and suspended without warning, without care, without any regard for us. How do you think it's going to be on the moon? How do you think it's going to be there? They slave you right out. They could tell us here on Earth that everything's great. You should go live in the moon. You should give all your money. You should sell your house, sell your kids, sell your dog, sell your cat, and move to the moon. And then you get there and it's really an enslavement camp. And there's no going back. It's not like you can just run home. It's not like you can just catch the next bus home. It's not going to work like that. And you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know. You'd be so excited. You sold all your stuff. Going to have a new life. Get on the train. That's what it sounds like to me. Get on the train. We're doing great things on the moon. Get on the train. Not me. I'm not getting on the train. Keep my ass here. I don't know anything about all that. It's no good. It's great if you're bored and you need something interesting to think about. But as far as life choices, I'm not going to live on the moon. I'm not going to live on Mars. It's not that great living here. I'm not going out there where there's no structure. No thank you. No thank you. Matthew, space is fake. See, and a part of me kind of feels that way too. I don't know. I don't know what's real and not real anymore. All the dinosaurs they told us when we were kids, they're not real. They're not real to the way that they described them to us. If you go look up dinosaurs now versus what we were taught when we were 8 years old, they're far different. They're called different things. They got feathers and stuff now. They're way different than the dinosaurs we were taught as children. Same thing with planets. They tell us the stars are burning gas and they're nothing. Then they told us they were planets. Then they told us that they are moons for planets. Then they're telling us that they're moons to house galaxies. And so it's like, I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is at this point. Then they come out with all this talk about the firmament and that we're actually underwater and all the, like, it goes on and on and on and on. And then after a while, you don't even know what the truth is anymore. Because the problem is that we never experienced it. Me and you have not experienced it. We've never left the atmosphere. We don't know what's out there. Our whole education on that comes from someone telling us. And so everything you've ever learned that you couldn't go see for yourself, that you couldn't go do yourself, you learn that by a person telling you. And when that person or a person keeps stacking trash on that same subject and every piece they stack is different from the last, eventually you just don't care anymore. You're like, well, I can't go experience it for myself. I don't care. Like I'm saying with dinosaurs. You say whatever you want about dinosaurs and I'm just going to say, okay. Because I've never seen a dinosaur. I don't know what you're saying is true or not. Okay. Because I don't like arguing. I don't like fighting and stuff. So if you believe, you know, that the moon's fake, okay. If you think it's real and it's the great new place to move, okay. I'm not going to do it though. And I'm not going to argue with you on it because I can't go to the moon. I'm not going to sign up for NASA. I'm not going to space. I don't like getting in the water, okay? I'm definitely not going to space. I'll tell you that right now. So, do what makes you happy. That's all the advice I got. Do what makes you happy. Jasmine's mom, the Bible has the truth. It does. It does. God has all the answers. Let's see. Jasmine's mom, you can't get to the website? Me, Matt, and Cassandra are on there right now. Sorry, hooligans. I'm just busting you out. Didn't mean to do that, but yeah. We're all on there right now. Cassandra, I have absolutely no desire to go to space. Yeah, same. Matt, 3D homes look like a cake decorator made them with a piping bag. They do. They're like 3D printing cement or whatever. I bet they're strong if they settle correctly, if they cure correctly. I bet they're like really strong. I wonder what the insulation is like, and I bet it's a nightmare to re-innovate. Like move light switches and stuff because everything's made out of cement that was 3D printed. I don't know. I could see some problems, but as far as I know, the houses are severely cheaper than a traditional home. There's also houses, I can't remember what they're called. They used to be really popular, and I haven't heard about them in probably almost a decade. But they used to take homes and like dig into the ground and then insulate it with cement and solar panels and stuff, and everything in the house was like organic and synergy. Like it collected rainwater underneath the soil and stuff, so it would rain, it would go through the soil, but then it went through a filtration system and eventually made its way to a tray that would come into a collective of some sort, and then your bath water and all this stuff would be it would come from that. It would all come from the reservoir, and then you're doing the gray water system and stuff. Like if you're in an RV, it's the same kind of system, but they were like more of a natural house, but it was kind of underground. It was like how the hobbits were living. Like if you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, it's kind of like that. But there was people talking about the government trying to do away with them because it's focusing on off-grid living, and you know how the government feels about that. Yeah, I guess there is still problems going on with the website. I just refreshed the page and I am seeing problems. Like I said, I'll get it fixed. It's nothing on my end. It's the company doing the server, and I'm sure whatever's happening is fine. It'll be fixed. Don't you worry about it. Pumpkin. Sounds like fun, but I enjoy breathing. Yeah, exactly. Sam, we Earthlings, we can't survive on the moon without some serious technology. We are not meant to live in outer space. I agree. I'm surprised that they are not building homes in the ocean before trying to build homes on the moon. You know, almost like Atlantis, or like Atlantis, or like those structures they had in Star Wars Episode 1. Jar Jar Binks' people all lived under the ocean in these like pods, like giant pods that like had a whole city in it. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that before the moon. Just reading through the chat really quick. DeRosa, getting in a battle of wits with a big dummy proves who's smarter. Absolutely. Absolutely. If 2020 taught me anything, it's don't argue with idiots. Don't do that. A big thing was people arguing with family members over the truth versus what they are told. And it hurt a lot of families, and it caused a lot of separation in relationships and stuff like that because people just didn't believe the same things. And then it's kind of hard to exist and coexist with people that don't believe the same as you when it's so extremely separate. Like the beliefs are so far apart. And so it caused a lot of division. But the reality is that a lot of people couldn't cope with being around people who believe different things. That was the biggest thing. Is in 2020 it was a big you're either with me or against me kind of thing going on. There was no sidelines. It was you were either on my side or you were against me. And because of that mentality, it caused a lot of division and stuff. And I think now people are so worn out that they just don't care. They just don't care. And so you can argue with idiots that voted blue team and stuff like that. But like you've seen probably 1,000 videos, you know, how come you voted for Old Man Walter? Because it's not Trump. Why do you hate Trump? Haven't you heard the news? That's it. That's their whole argument. That's all they got. They have nothing else. So why even argue about it? They have nothing to say. You're not going to convince them. You can't make people believe stuff. You can try and convince them, but you can't make them believe anything. Why put forth the effort? What does it even matter? It's their life. They want to be soft and stupid and have their head in the sand. I mean, you can try. You can try and be the good Samaritan. Hey, you're an idiot. I want to show you the light. They're like, nah, you're a racist. Oh, that's fine. Put your head back in the sand. I'll try the next guy. Like, don't give it no time. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Well, hooligans, that is all the coffee I had for you guys today. A little bit longer of a show today. I appreciate all of you hooligans being here. I'm going to drop this Linktree link to all of you guys. Let me grab it here. We're going to do a Pledge of Allegiance in just a moment. Get this link out to everyone. Yeah, I appreciate you being here, Cat's Eye. Mr. Beans and Beans, a Democrat excuse? Yeah. Because. That's why. Because. Alright, hooligans, I just dropped that Linktree link to all of you. If you would like to make donations to help me with my car situation, or support the show, you are welcome to do so. That's where the list starts, I believe. No, it starts with the live streaming areas. Then it goes to the donation links. You are also welcome to join the membership programs for whichever platform you hang out on the most. I can't remember if I got the Rumble one or not. If you're on Rumble, you got to click that subscribe button. If you are on Android and you're using the app, you have to pretty much go to the website in order to subscribe to the membership over on Rumble, where you'll have access to custom emojis, and you will also be entered into Locals, which is Rumble's social media. You'll be a part of our Locals group. But we have lots of membership programs. If you would like to join the membership program to support the live and also get the benefits of each membership, you are welcome to do so. We have both merch stores on there. One is primarily clothing and coffee mugs, and then the second one is hats, flags, patches, and other specialty items. You can check both of them out from the link tree. But what I ask is please join Gilded. Gilded is free and it is the best place to receive notifications for when and where we go live. You don't have to be late to the live or worry about these hit or miss notifications from all these different platforms. I will notify you directly if you're a part of Gilded. Also, you'll receive updates from me, like when I figure out what's going on with my car. Everybody on Gilded and jeffmaclive.com will be notified on what's happening with my car as soon as I know. And we have a news board to keep you up to date with everything going on around the world. So definitely go join Gilded. And if you really want to support, go join jeffmaclive.com. I think that's everything. So now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, hooligans, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heck yeah, we did the thing and I didn't mute myself. Winning today. All right, hooligans, I'm going to read through the chats really quick. Make sure you guys are good to go. We will be playing the game at 6 p.m. Eastern Time over on Kick, jeffmaclive.com, and Jeff Mac Gaming. You can find Jeff Mac Gaming at the very bottom of the link tree. And then for everybody else, we will be live tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, for the very next Coffee with Hooligans. All right, I'm going to read through chat really quick, and we're going to wrap this up. DCAT, can't live under the water, let alone on the moon. It's just not feasible. We don't have the technology, and we can't even get to the bottom of the ocean without remote-controlled vehicles. Oh, yeah, I know. I just think that it would be cheaper to try and screw around and create a habitable space in the ocean instead of trying to haul everything to the moon. We'll see how it goes. Raja, is the pressure from the weight of the water harder than the vacuum of space? It's a good question. I have no idea. That is a good question. I don't know, it's so weird because you look at half the stuff the astronauts have and it looks like paper mache crap. Most of their stuff looks cheaper than baby toys. It's just, I don't know. And then it goes and withstands the atmosphere, and then in outer space, the vacuum and pressure of outer space. But then you see the things that we have for the oceans, like big steel vehicles and stuff like that. I don't know. You would think space would be more pressure than the ocean, but maybe not. I don't know. Something to look up. Flipping through the chats really quick. Alright, well, it looks like we're good to go. Once again, we will be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for some gaming. We're going to be continuing Starfield. We only got like another week or so of Starfield, and then we'll be moving on to other games. But we'll be doing that for 2 hours just to forget the problems around us and take a little break. And then for everybody else, we will be live 1 p.m. Eastern Time right here for the next Coffee with Hooligans. I appreciate all of you guys. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership programs, or purchased any merch. I really appreciate all of you hooligans, and I would not be able to do this without you. So thank you so much for all your support. I'll see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.